We are.
It's not
live,
supposed to be what happens when you do TV live. Can we start the show?
Yeah, we can start the show. Yeah.
Thanks.
Good evening. It is after 6 o'clock. Good evening and welcome to the Sunday Night Sports Wrap, hosted by Missing the Point. My name is Joe Malkin, your host for the evening, and I am joined by this entire I was almost called you guys a gang crowd of gentlemen. I guess you could be a gang of gentlemen. They call a group
It's a
of
murder
crows
of a murder of gentlemen.
a murder of gentlemen.
I like that.
Great.
I like that.
All right. Good evening, everyone, and welcome into the Sunday Night Sports Wrap. My name is Joe Malkin, and choosing to be introduced as a team are Mike Marcangelo, Dave Clark, Bob Kelly, and Rayshawn Buchanan. You guys see what I did there? And Craig D'Alessandro is sitting in the background watching and listening. It's a little strange, but we just go with it. And guys, how are we doing tonight? Ray, welcome back. I know you weren't on the last live show, but how's everything going?
It's good. I talked about it on Tuesday being back for Black History Month. Like it was important for me to be back, obviously. But definitely miss working with all of you at the same time. Are you speaking to me, Miss Marcangelo? Because if so,
well, she's definitely not talking to me, dude.
Yeah, and it's not me either because she doesn't like me and Mike the same amount.
Gotcha. Well, Miss Marcangelo, I appreciate you, and I am happy to be back as well. Thank you for that. I appreciate that. It's like that Ric Flair turn, with the, with the tear in my eye.
Ray, just so you know, we're happy to have you, whether it's February or August or any other one of the months. No,
but
okay,
it just adds to the joke. But
it does.
Yeah,
it does.
But definitely good to be back and ready to get into it.
Bobby, how we doing out there in New York?
I'm doing pretty good, man. I'm ready to get into this. Ready to be sad and break down our Celtics a little bit. I'm in a solemn mood because of it. Thank you. I busted out the T-Row because, listen, we could use a little T-Row in our lives right now.
I'm surprised it doesn't have burn marks in it after the last couple of weeks.
Bobby, just a quick question.
It almost did.
Did you wear that shirt the night that he went 1 of 144 from the field in Game 7? Or?
I did actually, and I bought it 3 days before that. So it is a little bit of a cursed shirt, but I figured now, you know what I mean? We might as well reverse the curse at this point. So
yeah.
Dave, what's the past like out in California?
It's good 3 hours ago out here. I'm definitely happy to be back too. Obviously, it's very important for me to be here during Black History Month. Wait, no, that was what Ray said. That's not what I'm supposed to say.
Where are we right now? What?
Sorry, I read the wrong line.
Oh, hi, Mom. Hey, we got two moms listening to us, so we're off to a great start. We're going. My mom and Mike's mom are in here, so Dave's doing well out there in the past. Mike, how are you doing? You all right?
Yeah, I'm doing good, dude. I just wish we had something to talk about today. I'm glad all the teams are clicking, and then it's just your average mundane Sunday night sports wrap episode.
Yeah, we don't have anything. We didn't have a rundown done on Wednesday afternoon or anything. So, welcome into everybody that's watching us, whether you're on Facebook, Twitch, or YouTube Live. We are everywhere. We're trying to get our faces out to all of you in as many places as we can.
Yeah,
so once again,
that is.
Yeah, right. I know. Again, so welcome into the flagship show of the Missing the Point Sports Podcast, the Sunday Night Sports Wrap. And guys, let's get into it because Bobby brought up the solemn mood that he's been in due to the team that wears green in the town of Boston, the Boston Celtics. Guys, what's next for the Celtics? They're 16-17. They're 2-3 in their last 5. They're 4-6 in their last 10. At least they're consistent. The only good number I can give you is that they're 12-10 against the East, which makes them 4-7 against the Western Conference. They play Washington. They'll actually start that about halfway through this show. And if you are listening to this podcast after we record it, so after Sunday, you can find the recording of this down in the show notes to be able to watch our beautiful faces after the fact. So, Mike, I know our moms will be doing that. But getting back to the Celtics, guys, what's next for this team and where are we going? Because we've all been pretty fired up about this, and I know we have a lot to say.
I think just to make everybody feel better, just so you guys know, even if we were as good this year as we were last year, we wouldn't be good enough. It's going into this season with the way that the trades happened. What? Why are you making a face? What did I miss here?
Sounds like we got Jumanji in the background right now.
Yeah, somebody who's banging on stuff.
Oh, you know what that is? That's my child. Sorry about that.
Oh, okay, good.
All right.
Well, way to bring us down
about the
track.
Celtics too.
Yeah, I guess so.
That's what it is.
All right, apologies to everybody for the sound interference, but we're going to try and muscle through the soundtrack.
We've never had a problem with the ambulances going by your apartment. So
I mean, what do you want me to do about that? You can discipline your child. I can't discipline fucking EMTs. Okay. I mean, it's not quite the same thing. I don't support corporal punishment, for the record.
We don't either.
Discussing the Celtics. I'm just
Speaking
kidding.
of
It's fine. Children be children. But yeah, we were never going to be good enough this year. You know, I said it at the start of the season, and I'm going to keep bringing this up just because I like being right about stuff. If we drafted those draft picks and didn't convert them into a big third piece for Tatum and Brown to use, then this was going to be what happens. I didn't think we were going to absolutely trip over our own dicks this much, but like here we are. Thankfully, there's only 2, maybe 3 tier 1 teams in the NBA right now, and it's the Lakers, the Nets, maybe the Clippers. I don't know about you guys, but the Bucks don't seem there still to me. I think that I think they'll have a good regular season, and I think they'll crap out in the playoffs again. I don't think they use Giannis right. He's taking threes at the end of games. Come on, go ahead. But we were never going to really be good enough. So we're basically looking at trying to keep Brown and Tatum for the next 2 to 3 seasons, and we're going to still be in a rebuild. When the third Hall of Famer landed in Brooklyn, that was when it ended for us this year to win a championship. So it really doesn't matter that much, being this bad just kind of means our draft stock is rising. So don't worry about it too much. I know it hurts to watch them, but there's positives in the future coming.
Yeah, but they'll do it for the Celtics talk on the Sunday Night Sports Wrap. No, but Mike, go ahead.
I was going to say they're really bad. We know that their shortcomings last season were the fact that they can't hold on to a fourth quarter lead. We get it. We understood it. We saw it a lot, right? But I think I can speak for everyone here when we did not assume a 16-17 start through 33 games, right? We probably thought,
especially after they started 7-3, and we were all kind of happy about that.
And I think with this team, right, you either get one of 2 things: either they're down 14 points in the fourth, or they're up 24 they're down 14 points in the first and they come back, or they're down or they're up 24 in the fourth and they lose. It's the most consistently inconsistent basketball that we've seen from them. And I think Bobby hit the nail on the head when we were talking about this before. They're just not fun to watch anymore, right? There are moments when you see the team that you love and that they put it together and they make a run, and then every single time in the fourth, if they have a lead, they squander it. And I'm just sick of watching that. I hope they can turn it around. Where do they go from here, Joe? There's really hopefully we've seen their floor. I don't think we have, though. I think that they could play worse if that even is comprehensible to you. But I hope they get better.
So we have a comment regarding Kyrie Irving, and Bobby and Ray. Before you go, I want to interject with that comment that was made to us, and the comment that Dave just made about the third Hall of Famer landing in Brooklyn. Wyc Grousbeck was on the radio last week, of course, the owner of the Boston Celtics. He was quoted as saying, "We had hoped that Kyrie Irving would stay forever and lead us all the way. That change touched off a lot of stuff because he left. A bit of a domino effect." Ray, talk to me about
That's a really stupid thing to say. I'm just going to interject.
Sure. No, I have a lot of quotes to read, and this is one of them. But Wyc clearly wanted to keep Kyrie around. So Ray, tell me
Thanks,
about
Wyc.
that.
That's really helpful, Wyc.
Well, so this goes. So no. But you know what? But I'll interject too, because this goes back to the issue that I've had with this team is the ownership and the GM. Because that's always where I go. I don't touch the coach before I go to the GM and the owner. So, Wyc coming out and saying this, he has created a problem, and we'll get to that when we get to the quotes from Danny Ainge this week. Because now Danny Ainge, what is Danny Ainge going to do? Go above the head of the owner of his employer? Go ahead, Bobby.
Well, I was
going to go to Ray. You're ready.
That's really where the shortcoming is to me. Is it's very clear in the same problem. It's been the same problem since last year. Is that we don't have that guy in the rotation that drops everyone into the spot they're supposed to be at. Like if we had that guy that fits there right before, either before Kemba or right after, when it comes to minutes, when it comes to touches, then this team falls into place into spots where they belong. Like having Peyton Pritchard as a 9 coming off the bench rather than a 6 or a 7, that's a big difference. So I think that's where it goes to Ainge, because it's like, dude, you failed to bring that guy in that we knew that we needed, and we've known that we've needed for the past year and a half. And it's like time and time again, we hear about these deals. We hear about these guys, the Miles Turner, the Doug McDermotts, you know what I mean? Those solid role players that we should be bringing in here, but it's just not happening year in and year out. And it's frustrating beyond belief to me.
Right, I'm looking right into
you have 2 all-stars on your team. You know what I mean? It's not all doom and gloom. You have 2 all-stars on your team. You can do stuff. You know what I mean? It's like everything we talk about is based around the idea that you want to build around Tatum and Brown, especially now. It's such a weird thing, right? Because all you ever see, I'm sure you guys saw it watching them play the Pacers. Was it yesterday or 2 days ago? It was like Tatum, career year. Brown, career year. Celtics, stinking up the place. You know what I mean? And it's like it barely makes sense, you know, in your head when you think about it. It's like you have these 2 guys who have been good for a long time, going up a level at the same time, and finally reaching the place where we were all hoping, praying, expecting for them to reach. And everything seems to be falling apart around them. And it's like dead weight is an issue on this team. There's too many players on this team that, and I know Ray's made this point a lot of times, there's too many players on this team taking up minutes that are absolute passengers, that like just are absolute traffic cones. They do nothing for us. You know, I know I was big on Jeff T because he had that one good game, but he had literally, I've never jinxed someone so badly in my entire life. Like I went off on Jeff Teague in our group chat, and he literally, it's like somebody like replaced it, like his soul with another person's. Like he's been so terrible. Tristan Thompson has good games, but I think that like he's a little bit slow for Brad's team. Robert Williams is inconsistent. You know, it's just like, I love Robert Williams, by the way. Like he's one of the ones I would keep, but it's like these minutes are just being wasted on a lot of these guys, and it's just like I just think we have to clean house with everybody but Tatum and Brown, and like I also would like to keep Robert Williams, but I don't know. Ray, you were gonna say something?
Yeah. You know, thanks for having me. No, I'm joking. No, I just the thing is, obviously, you know, we've harped on Tatum and Brown being young guys. But, you know, they're, you know, obviously with, you know, Brown being 24 and then Tatum being 22, I think it'll be 23 in a few days. You know, those 2 guys already as young guys know what their role is, right? But you have, you know, so many guys on the team, like Dave just alluded to, that are just, you know, I said placeholders. They're trash, you know, so that's the problem. That's the absolute problem in my opinion. So I don't know what they're going to do as far as bringing someone in here, but they need to maybe go back to what they were in 2016, 2017, right? So that team, you know, had the Jay Crowders, had, you know, I mean, obviously Al Horford was already established, but the reason why I brought that team up, you had a lot of guys on that team that knew their role on that team. So when you have guys that know their role, that's just fine. You can have 2 all-stars all day. There's other teams that have talented players, but the pieces around them don't fit, and that's what's happening right now.
That's on Brad, though, right? It's like that's on Brad because it's like he doesn't.
Well, it is.
His rotations are trash. His minute allocations are trash, and like nobody knows what they're supposed to be doing.
But what do you do? What do you do when it's like you have to depend on the Carson Edwards, you have to depend on the Tremont Waters? That's wild. It's not like he's saying, "Hey, go give me this particular." Now, if he is, then you know, hate to see it, but it's like, damn, like really, like I have to depend on the Shemi, I have to depend on the Carson, I have to depend on a top of ball. That's a problem
lately. But there was a period where we had guys playing, you know, guys like Jeff Teague, who was averaging like -3 points a game, playing, you know, in 19 minutes at that point, and like coming in crunch time. And, you know, it's just like a lot of those rotations in that period of the season when we first started to slump, that was on him, you know, and it's just like, and I think that hit the confidence of everybody. And also, and I will say this, and I think that this does need to be said, it's not an excuse, but Tatum had COVID. And you don't know, everybody gets affected by that differently. And his game has not been the same since he's come back. I think he's going to be fine. And I think he's going to come back, you know, as the same player he was prior to that happening. I think you can already see that happening. But that has affected us. You know, he is our best player. So when, you know, arguably our best player. You can argue over who our most important player is, but like offensively, like, you know, Jason Tatum is so important for us that if he's not playing up to scratch, the whole system falls apart. You know what I mean? It's like, you talk about domino effects. It's like, I will say this also. Why are you talking about Kyrie Irving, Wick? Like, what good is that going to do for us?
Well, he was asked a question.
I know he's asking a question, but you're not fucking media trained. Like, you're the head of the whole organization. You can't like dodge that question.
I mean, he could, but he's a business. But this is the problem I'm talking about, Dave. I don't disagree.
But how does that help?
It doesn't help. But this is part of the other problem. And you know, Ray, it's interesting you mentioned the rotations and everything else, and the players and the talent, because last week you had Brad out the door. So we'll come back to that.
I still do. Yeah.
I want to touch on what Dave just said about the COVID issues, because this was actually brought up to me this week by somebody who was extremely close to the Boston Celtics back in the day, and that was the first thing he said to me was, look at Cam Newton. What happened to Cam Newton after he had COVID? The team was it was a shell of itself, the entire team, because it was the guy, right? In the NFL, in football, the quarterback is the guy. Well, Jason Tatum is the guy in green for the Celtics. So if he goes down and he's not playing well, it's going to affect everybody around him. So maybe in time, this team will turn around, because a 72-game season is a much longer period of time to turn around than a 16-game season. With that said, Danny Ainge this week on Toucher and Rich on 98.5 The Sports Hub said that he doesn't feel that this roster is good enough, but also expects them to contend this season. He also said, I'm not going to make a move for the sake of making a move, and added, this is a me problem. So, Dave, you want to talk about deflecting and
well, I mean, but that's what you have to say, right? Because if he comes on Toucher and Rich and he goes, we got to make a move, dude, we're desperate, then you just you absolutely bang, like everyone knows you're desperate. When you say it out loud, you bang up all your negotiating power with any other GM, where it's just like, we know you're desperate, we know we have you over a barrel, so we get to finally fleece the guy that's like the most famous fleecer in the entire league. Everybody, you know, we've talked endlessly about Danny being in those positions where people don't want to deal with him because they're worried that they're going to get stolen from, like it happened in Brooklyn. But then it really turned out that wasn't that bad of a trade for Brooklyn, because they have 3 Hall of Famers on their team right now and we're trash. But at the end of the day, like, if you're Danny, you can't say anything other than that. You just can't, you know, because otherwise you're showing your hand to everybody. I would not be surprised if he goes, yeah, we're definitely not going to make a move, and then he makes 2 moves, you know. I think honestly what their goal right now though is to just be profitable, try and make the playoffs, you know, try and get the TV money in the playoffs, and hopefully be able to make some moves, because we're not in the luxury tax, right? We're not getting luxury tax right now.
No.
So, you know, I think that they're prepared to go into the luxury tax area once they're ready to. I think that's going to be the signal, where it's like we sign that one guy, puts us over, and we're making a push now. But at this point, every franchise got hit by no fans in the stands last year. Everybody's probably hemorrhaging money, you know, in every single sport. You haven't seen big blockbuster trades for that reason. You haven't seen big blockbuster free agency signings like we were at the rate we pre-COVID for that reason. So I know it's a boring take, but I think we just need to be a little bit patient. We have a 24 and a 22-year-old. We have 24 and 22-year-old all-stars on our team. They're the future. If we can keep them, we're going to be all right. And also, Jesus, man, how long are Brooklyn going to stay together? Because we're not going to beat Tatum and Brown are not going to be able to beat those 3 for the foreseeable future, if you ask me. Not to be negative Nancy over here, but
yeah, but no, Dave, you can't say that, bro, because you was the first one. He was saying this the last 2 or 3 months. So actually, matter of fact, we had an argument on the live show about this. You were like, well, how long are we going to wait? You were the main one that said that. So
yeah, but now we have to wait. But now we're in the position where we have to wait. I was like, I want to trade these positions. I want to trade these picks to like make a move now and try and make a run. And now I'm just accepting the fact that we're not there. We're not going to be contenders. I said that before James Harden got to Brooklyn. It's like now the East is locked up. The East is completely locked up. Like, what do you want us to do about it? We're not going to win it. We're not going to win the East now.
The thing is,
but you can't tank it though. Go ahead, Bobby.
When
I'm not saying tank it. I didn't say tank
because it's definitely not a tank, because when the bench guys do show up, that's the thing. Is like you're right to a point. I'm very disappointed. I can't even watch this team right now. But at the same time, when that bench does show up and they play basketball they're capable of playing, when they play up to their potential, they're a solid basketball team. They can beat some of the better teams in the NBA.
What's their ceiling? What's their ceiling?
Well, that's the thing. I don't know what the ceiling is, but when you have Robert Williams coming off the bench and putting up 14, 11, 4, and 3, like that's okay. Amazing.
But say you but this is what I'm saying. Like, this is what I'm trying to say. Take every single player on this team. They're playing their absolute best. They're playing the best they possibly can. We're still not going to get past the Brooklyn Nets, and we're still not going to beat the Lakers in the finals. So we need to still add a piece to this team. So I think what Danny Ainge is saying, I think makes a lot of sense to me, where it's like, okay, it's become clear now to us that we're not quite where we thought we were. The East has strengthened to a point that has left us behind a little bit with like the way that we were rotating. The West is incredibly strong. So whoever we face coming out of there, if we were to make it out of the East, is likely to beat us. With that accepted reality, I know it's not a fun thing to say on a sports show because we want to be like, yay, hooray, let's watch the Celtics and talk about them and like get subscribers. But it's just my honest opinion where it's like, it's the how long are we going to wait thing. I hope we keep them at this point. You know, I hope we keep them long enough to make a real championship run, because it's with just the two of them. Do you know what I mean, Ray? It's like we have to add a third piece. Our value sucks right now. Like we would be trading away the farm right now because everyone's playing like shit. You have to get these players to play better in order to like trade them for anything of value or like trade. Do you know what I mean?
So let me ask you this question then, right? So Kemba, we know Kemba has not played back-to-backs. Kemba's played basically every other game, right? Now, obviously, when we saw for him Friday night, you know, Mike said it first. Mike said, this is the Kemba we need, right? So he had 32 points. Yeah. Right. So, you know, but I mean, the last 5 or 6 games, though, he's had about
He's been getting better.
Yeah, he's been getting better. So my thing is, do you let him play every game so that you get his value up and you could package him as Smart to another team and your first round pick next year to get somebody? Because that's the only way you're going to get some pieces back to build around Tatum and Brown, in my opinion.
Well,
so what
not to answer your question with a question, but do you think that absolute best Kemba, absolute best 24-year-old Brown, absolute best 22-year-old Tatum can beat Harden, Irving, and Durant all healthy in the playoffs? Because I just don't. I'd have to say yes. I'd have to say you do have to try to trade Kemba, because this was like when we in our heads had Kemba, Tatum, and Brown going into the bubble playoffs, and you said it yourself, and it was a very good point. This was our opportunity. And like, look how true that's become, because the Brooklyn Nets they didn't look like they look now, you know, because we knew that those two were coming back, and then Harden showed up, and it's like, holy shit, there's 3 of them. Durant can take a fucking vacation. You know, Irving can take a vacation and they can still win games. You know, they just need one of those guys in the regular season. It's just like, I know it's disappointing, but it's like, at our best, yes. The answer to your question is yes. I think you have to get his trade value up and then trade him. Yeah, unfortunately.
Well, what's interesting to me is to bring up, we've now brought up Kyrie. The only guy that we haven't brought up that was supposed to be that third piece, and I'm going to lead into to my analysis by saying that, is Gordon Hayward. Okay, we can't say that they haven't tried to bring in that third piece. They tried to do it with Kyrie because Kyrie was a bona fide winner. He had won in Cleveland. Then they tried to do it with Hayward because they figured Hayward was a bigger guy, but also he was Brad's guy. Freak injury. I mean, Kyrie just didn't work out because I think Kyrie and Brad are like oil and water. Hayward didn't work out because of a freak injury. They bring in damaged goods and Kemba Walker thinking he's going to be ready to go by the start of the season when he gets there, and he wasn't. Then he gets re-injured. So we can't say that they haven't tried to bring in the third guy. The problem is that when they do bring that third guy in, they still extend the bench too far. So you're giving those minutes away. It goes back to that power struggle I brought up last week on the show. Go ahead, Mike.
Yeah, so I think a couple of things, right? I think when I see that message, I'm not going to make a move for the sake of making a move. When I read that, when I hear that, I hear Danny saying, I'm not going to trade anyone unless I can absolutely fleece the other team. That's what he's been doing. So he kind of.
But nobody has value right now.
But I'm just telling you, like, when I hear that, like, he does not do a trade unless he absolutely wins, and I get it, but that's only happened a couple times so far. Also, I'm not sure that if Kemba's at his best, Jalen's at his best, and Jason is at his best, that they don't beat Brooklyn, because James Harden doesn't show up in the playoffs. Just doesn't. And I think I think
you're talking about
Durant,
1 Game 7. You're like, if it's like that 1 Game 7, he missed some shots, and all of a sudden
it's not just one game. It's not one game.
I think that's a very
dangerous
position to take. I think that James Harden with Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving is going to fucking show up in the playoffs.
The thing is he has.
And he doesn't have to. He doesn't have to. Right. He has KD and Irving. It doesn't matter.
That's what it comes down to. Is he doesn't
don't show up
anymore.
It's fine.
He doesn't need to anymore. Is because he's got those two. But if it's this version of Harden is one of the most dangerous basketball players I've ever seen in my life.
It's crazy.
He's unbelievable right now. Where he's playing defense.
He has a point to prove.
It's a different Harden version that we didn't
going,
see
Bobby.
in Houston. It's not the ISO Harden. It's
funny.
I'm going to be an actual point guard. He's honestly he's taking the identity of what his coach used to be. He looks like a Steve Nash prototype.
This is why Ray and I wanted him on the Celtics.
And listen, I've told you guys, I've come back on that take many times. If that's the Harden that we got, all day, man.
It's not the Harden we would have gotten, though. It's not
it
the
might
Harden
be, though, because listen, man, this guy.
We know that because he's playing with KD and Kyrie Irving.
But but he doesn't even need those two right now. It's like Kyrie.
He doesn't, but he's still not the best out of those three. Do you see what I'm saying? If he
he's definitely not. I agree.
But if he comes to Boston,
he's injured.
He is the guy if he comes to Boston. So this is how I know, right? Because to Mike's point, saying that if he goes when he goes to the playoffs, he's nothing. When was the last time he was with two young guys on a team and they were supposed to go all the way and didn't? I believe that's the team that Ray and I were trying to ban, right? Was that Oklahoma City?
Yeah, I mean, they got there, and
they were all young.
He choked in the finals, though. He choked in the finals. I have to say that he did choke in the finals. He did.
But that's my point. Is he doesn't have to be
that Houston series against Golden State. They should have won that series too, and he absolutely.
I mean, which year?
That was him.
He faced him 3 times.
Both years. There was 2 years where they had them up against the ropes, and James Harden just went ice cold. And there was that last game 7 where
you're talking about you're leveling the criticism at James Harden. I'm not trying to defend James Harden here, but I do think he's like maybe one of the best if not the best offensive basketball players of all time. And I think that you're leveling the criticism at James Harden that he didn't beat a generationally good Golden State Warriors team. Like everybody holds these two thoughts in their head at the same time. That's the best team I've seen in my lifetime, and James Harden sucks because he couldn't beat them. Like, how can both things be true? You know what I mean? It's like, I know that he went cold.
I know. In the NBA.
I know that I understand that, like, he went cold and, like, he had his opportunity, didn't take those opportunities. And I do understand that criticism, but I mean, Jesus, it's the Golden State Warriors. Like, they're going to punish you when that stuff happens. Like there's times where it doesn't happen to him. And it's, it just comes back to the fact that he's very good at basketball. And I think locker room chemistry is less of a thing in basketball than it is in other sports. I think what matters is how good your guys are. And when you can get a guy, and Ray and I agreed on this when the trade rumors were happening with Harden, when you can get a guy as good as James Harden, you go get him. You do everything. Same thing with Kyrie Irving. I absolutely do not regret going to get Kyrie Irving because you're an idiot if you don't try and make that trade. It's like, I understand it didn't work out, but you got to do everything you can to go get him because he's Kyrie Irving. You know what I mean? So it's like, and I'll say this, and I did appreciate your point, Joe, about trying to go get the third piece. And it's not that easy. You know what I mean? I mean, this isn't a market that people like love coming to. We know that about Boston. People have seen it not work out with Kyrie, etc. But with Hayward, I see a lot of people on Celtics Twitter, which we've talked about how Celtics Twitter is a fucking swamp, but I see a lot of people on Celtics Twitter being like, oh, look, great job trading or getting rid of Hayward or letting him go because look how well he's playing down south. It's like, no, I mean, that happens all the time. He needed to change the scenery for that to happen.
That's different. Yeah, that's different.
Yeah, he's had a
if you watch the Hornets, they run offense around Gordon Hayward.
And he makes the way he wants to. And 100%. And like, he needed to change his scenery. I mean, like, it was like the first few minutes of his Boston career when that ankle happened.
Yeah.
The dude just had if he had any luck in Boston, it was bad luck. And it's it
wasn't happening in Boston.
It wasn't meant to be.
It wasn't meant to be here. Agreed.
And I don't criticize Danny for that. I don't criticize him for trading for Kyrie Irving. I don't criticize him for trading for Gordon Hayward. A lot of bad luck and did what they were exactly supposed to do. So I disagree. I don't level it on Danny Ainge because I think he's made all the choices that we wanted him to make up until this point. Yeah, were you right about Turner and how he was getting a little greedy on the trade? You absolutely were. But in his head, he was thinking, I can go and get Tristan Thompson, and that's a decent alternative without having to give up the farm. And we all agreed that that was a decent alternative at the time.
Yeah,
it may not have necessarily worked out that way, but we did at the time say, well, I mean, Tristan Thompson's fair enough, and we got him for free. So he's making the choices we want him to make. So the blame game's we're not there yet, I don't think. And I think in 3 years when we have a championship contention team, because we're a little bit patient, maybe we'll be with Danny at that point.
I feel like when you bring up Celtics Twitter, so yes, their take that they should have gotten Gordon Hayward is great because he was gone. He was leaving no matter what. But
for sure,
I feel like it's like
everybody wanted him out, by the way.
That's what they're missing, though, and I feel like that's really what Celtics Twitter is upset about. Is they're missing what Gordon Hayward brought to this team. Where it was like
that same Twitter fan base was talking shit about Gordon Hayward throughout the entire playoffs, though.
Listen, that's the piece they're missing, though, where it's that guy that can give them those minutes, and you can depend on what he's going to give you every single night. And it's like you're putting him in for 10 points, 8 rebounds, and 6 assists every night, no matter what. And that's the guy they're missing right now. Whether it be playmaking, whether it be defense, they're missing the Gordon Hayward energy. And it's so obvious that's what's missing from this team. But when you watch them every night, you're like, they're just missing something. And that to me is what it is.
Right, but that's why they're a lot of people on Twitter and then like the media pundits like Forsberg and Scal and some other guys, like they're clamoring for the Celtics to go get Harrison Barnes because that's it. Right now, if you look at his numbers in Sacramento, 17, 6, and 5. Oh, there was another guy here that averaged 17, 6, and 5 last year, Gordon Hayward. So that's exactly, and that's what I'm saying. And I'm not saying that's what you said, DK, but that's why you can't necessarily punt on the season, because if you get a guy that's going to get you 17, 6, and 5 to match when Kemba's not on, or Tatum and Brown are not on, depending on the night, then you can still beat most teams. And then you get Smart back that's healthy, and then you do what you said, Bobby. Now instead of Payton Pritchard being the 6th guy, now he's 8 or 9, and now your front 7, not front 7. I'm thinking football still, but your first 7 to 8 off the bench, right, exactly. But it's like then you have Kemba, Smart, Tatum, Brown, Thompson, Harrison Barnes, and it's like now that pushes everybody back down. Now we're talking about something, but until you get that kind of piece, you can't get that. Yeah,
right, and it brings it full circle to those.
I'm not saying punt on the season though. I can't. I'm not saying punt on the season. I'm not saying like let's tank. Let's get a high draft pick.
16 and 17 and 6th place in the East.
I'm not saying that. But the thing is as we sit here right now, you and I are in agreement. All of our guys have lowered in value. So there's no point in trading anybody right now because we're gonna get absolutely fucking fleeced, right?
The only two guys that have value are Pritchard and Williams. Those are the only two.
Yeah, I mean, Pritchard has value to you because you have his poster up above your bed, but no, Payton Pritchard's very good, and I hope in 3 or 4 years, like he's a big piece of the team. But right now, I'm just saying right now, right this second, we're all in agreement that. We agree with Danny Ainge. We can't really make a trade right now because we're going to get lower value for our money. We've got a dent in the car. And if you get the dent fixed, you'll get more money for it because it's just going to look a little bit better. Now, Ray's saying we shouldn't trade later. We should see the ceiling of this team out, get that one more piece and see who we can beat. And I'm saying now that the Nets look as they do and the Lakers look as they do, maybe that's not the route to go. It doesn't really matter. We can just see how it plays out. At this point,
I had Jessica Alba's poster from Sin City above my bed.
Not Dark Angel. It wasn't. You didn't go Dark Angel.
No. That was a little bit before Sin City. It wasn't much, but
you had Jessica Alba. I had Alan Alda. So similar.
Very similar. Yeah, it was. Yeah. It's close.
Big MASH fan.
Yeah. But,
oh my God!
So all right, so staying with the Celtics theme.
Double entendre.
Staying with the Celtics theme. Against looking at what Danny Ainge was saying this week when asked multiple times. When he was asked if they could have done things differently, him specifically, he said there are things, but I won't address those because they involve people. I don't like to point fingers. There are choices we made that could have made a difference. What's
he talking about?
He misfired on Hayward. Like that's just what it is.
That's the big one.
Just come out
and
say
that.
Yeah. We know.
Just come out and say that. Like Joe, you had it right. You said this is all the things he could do, but he's not going to do it.
But no, I don't agree. Because Ray just made that point.
You cannot agree after I'm done, though.
17, 5 and 4. We liked it. We liked 17, 5 and 4.
He missed on getting the return for Hayward and just letting him go for free. He should have done the trade with Indiana. There should have been something.
Sorry, I think that's enough.
Yeah, no. There should have been something more. So like when he says that he missed on people, that's what he missed on.
I don't know if that's what he means.
I don't think that is.
I think he means Kyrie Irving's a dick. I think that's what he means.
We all know that.
But the thing, like when it comes to Gordon Hayward, is like I feel like Gordon got that offer and he was going. You know what I mean? Even if Danny was being greedy, I feel like that Indiana thing was overblown.
I thought he wanted to go to Indiana.
He did, but as soon as Gordon Hayward was getting 28, what is he getting now? $25 million a year. As soon as he got that offer, man, it's all over. You know what I mean? Then
we said that we were like, if someone's going to overpay for him,
it doesn't matter, right? So,
but it doesn't look like an overpayment now.
It really doesn't. But I feel like it's a Kemba thing. I feel like it is a Kyrie thing. I feel like he just regrets not making that move, and I feel like he does look at this team and he gets frustrated because that's what he has now, and it's not what he wanted this team to be. You know what I mean? Because there were so many moves he could have made and he didn't, and this is the team he has now.
If our leadership is still this hung up on the fact that Kyrie Irving's not here, we have a big problem. Like, if they can't move on, we have a huge problem.
Right, but is that the message, though, Mike? Like, is the message like, I don't know, man, our plan with this team really heavily involved Kyrie Irving, and we're really not sure what to do now?
Well, Wick said it.
Yeah,
but I think Danny was saying the same thing. He's like, the things involve people. The people was Kyrie Irving. He's like, Kyrie Irving's a tool. That's what he was saying.
Because Danny Ainge did his media after Wick. So that's what I was talking about. And another interesting question came up in that same interview with Danny, and that's kind of where I'll go with this conversation, Dave, now, is that they asked him, were you uncomfortable when Wick Grousbeck came out and talked about personnel, playing time, all these other things that really are 2 levels below him, right? Even though they're not, it's his team. But that's exactly what Danny said. Danny said, well, it's his team. He can say whatever he wants. But I also feel now, thinking about it and listening to what you were saying, Dave, is that's just lip service, because it's not how he feels, and Wick Grousbeck blew up his spot and really put him in a position. But rest assured, guys, Wick Grousbeck has full confidence in and made a commitment to Ainge and Stevens staying in Boston. And Danny Ainge, on Toucher and Rich, when asked about Stevens' future as the Celtics head coach, denied any chance of there being a change. So Ray, no Sam Cassell.
Yeah, no. It's not a shocker though. I said that on the Tuesday show. That'll be in the show notes as well. But that's the problem. Like it's ridiculous to me. But then I thought about it. He's only had 2 coaches in his tenure here. You know, it was Doc Rivers for 9 years, and I like Stevens ever since. So
time, though. I like giving coaches time to build a culture. You know what I mean? I think the worst thing that he said there is he packaged Danny and Brad together. That's a little disconcerting to me, because I think that's him saying they can
do no wrong.
One goes,
if one goes, both go, and I don't agree with that.
One's the other. Yeah.
Okay, cool.
I don't either.
Let me go to Luger right now. Come on, Mike. Let's go drive them.
Well, it's like, of course, that's what he's going to say, though, because any coach listen, the fact that question is being asked and you hear they're both safe, you know what that tells me? They're not safe. You know what I mean? Like, anytime that happens in a market where you're directly asking a GM and an owner, are these guys safe? And they're saying, yes, they're safe, instead of scoffing at it, instead of being like, are you kidding? You know what I mean? There's so many other answers besides, yes, these are my guys. And it's like, when I hear that from an owner, those aren't your guys. I'm sorry.
If you ask that question, if the answer is yes, they're safe, then they're not safe. And if the answer is no, they're not safe, then they're definitely not safe. So like, you're fucking damned if you do, you're damned if you don't, because it's like, you need to be like, of course, what a stupid question that was. Like, otherwise it's like, ooh, Now it sounds like a press release, you know?
It's like when Jerry Jones, not to always go back to this, but when Jerry Jones was asked about Jason Garrett over the years, it was never he's safe. It was he's Cowboys family. He is here. Jason Garrett is part of this. It wasn't, yeah,
yeehaw,
he's safe, right? It wasn't he's safe. He's this. It was this is what's happening.
I just always picture Jerry Jones doing finger guns, like dancing.
Always.
Texas Tech, guns up.
You know what?
He's going guns up, bro. Guns up
forever.
You know what would be a hell of a party is Jerry Jones and Jim Irsay. But anyway, moving on to free agents. We can get back to that conversation later. But free agents in the NBA. So regardless of, hey, look, if Wick gets rid of Brad and Danny and says, I'm taking over the team, would you guys want – I'm just going to – without cutting too many corners here, would you guys want Isaiah Thomas and or DeMarcus Cousins on this team right now?
I'd rather have Cousins.
That would just be
Thomas.
admitting defeat.
Yeah.
So that's the end of that conversation.
Well, I would just.
I mean, it's a lot.
How cheap can you
it's
get,
a loaded
Boogie?
question. I mean, he's basically guaranteed for 2.3 because that's what Houston guaranteed him once he got signed on. But I mean, obviously, you can get him around the same amount, if not lower. That's even better.
Try him out.
I think people miss the spirit that IT and his teams brought to Boston. So that's why we're so hooked on it, right? You know, it's just like obviously defensively, no, it doesn't make sense to bring him here. Not defensively, but just that guy that you know. Okay, if I give him the ball in the fourth quarter. It's IT time.
IT time, baby.
He's not going to fade away.
And his shot was nice. His shot.
Yeah, so
you
nice,
watching him in the playoffs go one-on-one with John Wall and winning was like the most fun I've had watching the Celtics in the last decade.
That game too.
Kelly Olynyk MVP chance, Game 7. Come on.
Yeah, that was insane.
Let's go.
That was insane.
Those teams were fun to watch. They were, they were plucky. They were young. They were plucky. Like, but Brad was still. We weren't.
The guys knew their role.
Yet. Everybody knew their role exactly.
They had the role. They had the guys that you could trust 5, 6, 7, 8. They had Crowder. They had Evan Turner. They had Avery Bradley. Guys, when they checked in the game, you weren't like, oh shit, fuck, here comes Javonte Green. Oh my God, here come. I mean, Javonte didn't play bad the other night, but oh no, here comes fucking Teague. You know what I mean? There's guys that check in. Right, there's guys that check in on the Celtics right now. Where you're like, dude, why? All right. We're here goes.
I agree with that point about the energy, man, because we need a winner. We need somebody that can come in on a spark.
But if we're gonna get a point, we need a distribution point guard. That's the guy we need. We need someone that's gonna create the shot for Tatum and Brown rather than
on Pritchard though, because Pritchard's ceiling.
Right, exactly. Because if you have someone in there because listen, I don't disagree with that take. I don't know if you guys saw it, where someone said that the reason Brown and Tatum aren't elite is because they don't create and make the game easier and better for everyone else.
Not every night. That's the problem. Not every night.
Right.
They do it, but it's not every night.
If you brought in someone who that is their sole focus and you set these two up to be let them score 30 points and get 16 assists out of, I'm just going to throw it out there, Rondo.
Yep, exactly. Like that,
bingo.
Yep.
That's
exactly who needs to come.
That could take this team to what we think they can be, because when you have someone setting them up for 30 to 40 points on a nightly basis and going not only going to be trying to get them their shot, but that is his only focus. We've seen that from Rondo before, where it's almost the downside of his game, where all he does is set people.
No, I'm here for that. That's exactly who they need. That's exactly who they need. Because the other night.
Before Dave's head explodes and he goes off about Rondo, I just want to say I think that we look back on those Celtics teams from like the early Brad Stevens era, and we said they were fun to watch. They were, but that's because they had no expectations, none, and they always exceeded. When you put pressure on them, they can't meet it. So yeah, it was cool. Like they got to the Eastern Conference Finals, and he was awesome here. I love it. But that was not a winning team. You could not win a championship with that team. We knew it. We know it now. And then we were in the moment because they just over exceeded expectations that were so low.
We came close with that team. Though. I don't know.
If you took that bench, listen. If you took,
we're an injury away.
That was during, and put them with this starting lineup.
They win a championship.
We're in fucking.
Facts.
If you give me Avery Bradley, Jay Crowder, and Kelly Olynyk coming off the bench, we're in business, man. That's the bench we need. Listen. I don't love Jay Crowder either, but I love Jay Crowder as my seventh guy coming. Right.
Off the bench.
That's what it is. It's like when you look at it, if you take
It's like you guys weren't there watching him just fucking jack up bricks.
He definitely had moments where you're like, you scratch your head, but it was like, once again, him being your 7th or 8th guy as opposed to freaking Shemi Ojale or Jeff Teague. God. Like, and once again,
it's tough to keep guys like that, though. It's tough to keep them when they get a little bit better and like, they are they're good role players for a reason. And it's like tough to keep them when you're trying to like build something over 4 or 5 years. Can we go back to the Rondo thing for a second?
Let's talk about it.
There's like a little green man that's like my Celtics fan that like lives inside me, and you guys were like Rajon Rondo, and like my brain just started flashing images of like Rajon Rondo like standing still, just picking out like dimes to Kevin Garnett and Paul Pierce.
Dude,
times we never thought would go away, like just such a different time of my life. I'm like 18, everything's great, got my whole life ahead of me, and Rajon Rondo is just like not running, just throwing like a quarterback on the court, and I'm like, yes, give me that again for that one brief moment. And then I remember that there's a million, and he doesn't do that anymore. It's just like,
no, but
he's not the same guy.
No, he was really good with LA last year. He was really good with LA.
Yeah, but
he was playing
I understand what you're coming from, Dave. Like, we don't need him to be the guy in 2010 to get you that when they got 29, 18, and 13 in Game 4 against Cleveland. We don't need that guy. We don't need the guy that got 44 and 12 against the Heat. We don't need that guy.
I would like that guy.
No, of course. But
that was such a good Rondo. That was unbelievable. I remember that when he was dropping
it
three.
Made me mad,
he was
just TV Rondo. It was TV Rondo. I was like, why can't you always do that?
It was unbelievable.
Right. But that
was when I remember a Facebook post came up where I was like literally preaching that Rondo's like the future of the NBA. I was like, if this dude can develop that 3-point shot like that, it's over.
He's ridiculous. So it's just like, that's the thing. Like, we just need someone that's gonna say, hey, you're gonna be in the spot, you're gonna be in that spot, and just find it and just make the game easier for our 2 stars. That's what we need.
You know for a fact that the Celtics fan base will not be able to accept Rajon Rondo in that role. You know for a fact that when Rajon Rondo comes back, it's gonna be Rondo's back. Like,
don't watch. That's fine. Don't watch. But it's just like, no, I'm not saying you. I'm saying anybody that feels that way, that doesn't have a sense of IQ in there, but like, don't watch it then. Forget it. Like, Rondo is a basketball savant when it comes to moving the basketball. Yeah. That is not an opinion. That is a fact. So so it's like, let that go. Let it go.
Right. And it's like that's it. They don't have anyone on that team that's that role. Kemba's not a creation point guard. He's not a playmaking point guard. He never will be. It's never what he was. He's a scorer. He's a guy that you can trust to go out and get those points. And yes, Pritchard is that guy. I love Peyton Pritchard. We all know that. But he's not at that level yet. You know what I mean? He can't be that guy that you can rely upon to create for this team on a consistent night in and night basis. It's just not going to happen yet. So it's if they can get that guy to come in here and be a creator for this team, yeah.
So for you guys, what would be not to seal this, Joe, but like for you, would you rather have a facilitating point guard that creates a shot for Brown and Tatum, or would you rather have a big man come in that at the end of the game can shore up the paint? I mean, again, Boogie Cousins isn't a defensive savant, right? But he will make you think twice about driving, and he's pretty good right now for what you get him for cheap. So what would you guys rather, Dave?
I mean, are we taking a punt on Boogie Cousins? That makes me feel like we've given up. You know what I mean? It's like, let's go get Boogie Cousins and like see what we can do. I think like Ray's right. I think the best thing you do is you just like nurse your wounds right now. I think you try to rehab Kemba, you manage his minutes. You try and get Marcus Smart back fully healthy. You don't rush him back. You don't freak out about the record slide. And you let Tatum and Brown play their game. I think that's the way to do it. If you go get Boogie Cousins, you're rejigging stuff. You're screwing up your minutes rotation again. I just think Danny is right at the end of the day. It's like, you don't make a trade just to make a trade. You don't sign a player just to sign a player. My mom used to bring me to Blockbuster Video, and I would walk around Blockbuster Video, and I would be like, I got to get something. And my mom would be like, you don't. We can just go home, and, you can do something else. And I'm like, but we came all the way here. You got to get something.
That's when you rent a video game.
I'd be standing there looking at him and nothing to jump out at me. You know what I'd end up doing? I'd end up going home with Boogie Cousins.
Wait.
And I wouldn't be happy.
Fun fact, I'm on the top 10 wanted list for overdue video rental fees.
There's only one Blockbuster video rental in Oregon. So at all of them?
All of them. Every single video rental place you could think of, there was like, I walked in there, they're like, bro,
So you put them all out of business. Thanks for that. One time,
I wish I could go back in time and just be like, I'm renting all the videos and never giving them back because you're all going out of business in like 8 minutes.
Oh yeah, I have lots of old school PS2 games with that Blockbuster video tag on it. You know what I mean? Where they put like that sticker on there.
Bobby, you call them overdue. They call that shoplifting.
Right.
So there was a time, and it was about 1999.
So
walked into a Blockbuster Video in Milford, Massachusetts, which is now a Five Guys Burgers and Fries. Neither one of those places are sponsors.
Wait, Milford, Massachusetts is a Five Guys Burgers and Fries.
Yeah,
that was bound to happen.
And we walked in there and we rented Air Force One with Harrison Ford. Still a great movie.
Great movie.
Gary Oldman, incredible in that
Great
one.
movie.
And we got home, we started watching it. There was
plane.
some violence, there was some stabbing, there was some language. And my dad gets up mid-movie and looks at it and goes, "Oh, I didn't know this was rated R." Well, hell, we're halfway through it now. So, and that was the first time I watched an R-rated movie when I was 10.
Nice. Air Force One. That's a good one. That's a good.
It was with my
first
dad,
one.
so
Yeah.
might as well watch it with him than somebody else, right?
That's a good one.
So my thing about the Celtics here is I to go with what Dave just said is we got to give it time.
Good transition.
Give these.
That's a great transition.
Thank you. If I was going to transition to the NFL, but we're still a little
Just
early.
let them do it.
Why you always got to call me out? All right. Well, so welcome back to the Sunday Night Sports Wrap. It's just me, Dave, and Rayshawn. Mike and Bobby have mysteriously left the show. But no, what I think about this team is I think there's just so many moving parts right now, whether it comes to guys not being fully healthy, maybe an owner not wanting to spend because there still aren't fans in the stands, which as of March 22nd, there will be fans in the stands again. But
You don't want to eat a luxury tax when you're not getting any revenue from ticket sales.
It's true. And you do have $28.5 million in trade exception, which Danny said to the same point Dave and I were talking about. You don't want to make a move to make a move. That doesn't mean he has to make it now. That plays into the offseason as well. And that was kind of what he alluded to, was that there's not much there now. We'll wait and see what we can get down the line. So that go ahead, Bobby.
But yeah, before we transition to NFL, that trade exception, DK, I don't want to shoot down that Bradley Beal theory you had on that pod with me and you.
It's not theory. That was not theory. That was me going, this would be my best case scenario. I don't think it's realistic.
That's a real thing that, listen, Tatum and Beal are boys. So, like, if there's someone that Tatum is going to go to Ainge and be like, listen, you need to go all in to get this dude here, it's Bradley Beal. That's the guy he's going to go and vouch for it and say, this is the guy that's going to take us over the top. Not sure what it's going to take to get him, but if there's someone that he wants, it is him.
If we get Bradley Beal, if we ever get Bradley Beal with Tatum and Brown still on the team, I will fly to Boston and we are all going yard. All of us. I will go absolutely ape shit. Like, I'm getting on a plane that day. That is a solemn promise. I don't think it's going to happen, but that would be unbelievable.
Walk into Danny's office, be like, listen, missing the point. We're here for
we're with the band. Don't worry.
I am also a fan of Bradley Beal because, like Stan Lee, I very much enjoy alliterations in names. So, what are our final thoughts on the NBA and the Celtics? That's the third time I've.
That was a total. That was a Marvel joke, guys. If you didn't understand,
it was marvelous.
Future podcast foreshadow is what that is. Marvel.
Yeah.
Is this where you guys tell me that this is just a Word document and not a real podcast?
Yeah, Joe wanted to have a podcast, but we wouldn't let those dangerous thoughts on the internet, so we just kind of opened up a private Zoom, told him we were on a podcast.
That eight is just imaginary. There's no
one actually watching. It's
we made that up
at one point. So, well, no, I think what we've all agreed here is that this has been a great therapy session about the Celtics, because I think we all went into this thinking we were going to be a lot more upset than we actually are, when actually we're coming away with Dave saying that he agrees with Danny, and basically the words from everybody else is it's not time to panic yet, right? Because Mike brought up a great point. Mike, your point was that before the season we all said, if they don't do something, this is what it's going to be. And then Ray and I decided to put them fourth in the East because that's where they should be with the team as currently constituted. But then Harden gets traded to Brooklyn, and now we have a bigger issue.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, though. If there's any doubt right now if this team can do something or not, we're going to know with the second half of the schedule, because this thing, I don't know if you guys have seen it, if you really looked at it, but it is brutal. brutal. We have Mavericks, Sixers, Hornets, all within the first 2 weeks of coming back after the All-Star break. Then the Nuggets, Trailblazers, Lakers, Nets, all on a consecutive week. So
there's a version of this team though, and it's not the most recent version, but there's a version of this team, Bobby, that goes and beats those kinds of teams, but then loses to like the shittier tier teams, you know.
Like it kind of remind me of a football team.
Yeah.
Which one?
Steelers.
Oh, well, we'll get there too. We're definitely going to get there.
Hold on.
We're all sitting here. We're all friends now, watching the Celtics together, commiserating over the Celtics, and then you're like, "Hey, remember the Steelers?
Remember this, guys? Remember this shit? Remember that?"
Right.
Hey,
wow.
Ray,
that's crazy.
Go ahead, Ray.
No, I'm saying we just had a comment saying that Boogie Cousins is not changing his team. Well, guess what, Mr. Silva? Neither is Daniel Tice or Semi Ojale either. So just saying.
That's the thing is like I wouldn't want Boogie because I truly believe if there's one thing I want to come away with from this season is if Robert Williams is legit. So like I think that Daniel Tice needs to take a backseat. All these guys need to take a backseat to Robert Williams because if there's one person that looks like he can actually dominate an NBA floor on the Celtics besides Tatum and Brown, it is Robert Williams, because there are times, man, where he looks he's just a presence. You know what I mean? When he gets rolling,
it's pretty streaky, but like those upside streaks are legit.
Yeah, but he's never played more than 13 games in a row. Like so, like that needs to change. Like we need to figure out if he's a big man for the long haul, because if he isn't, if he can only do this for like sporadically throughout the season, then what? Like, yeah, he's a high ceiling, but if he can't do it consistently, if he can't be in a regular season where like a 60 game season, like that's a problem for me.
But the only reason I would bring in Boogie Cousins is because watching Tristan Thompson, just my personal opinion, play offensive basketball it's so unpleasant
sometimes. Yeah, it's really.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's definitely a YMCA type of game. He looks like me out there at times, offensively anyway. Defensively,
yeah, he plays old man basketball, but like not in a fun way.
Yeah, he just bodies people.
Yeah, pretty much.
But then he got bodied by Zion. That was embarrassing. Did you see that?
I mean, everyone gets bodied by Zion. Just saying.
I know, but like it just hurts when it happens to us.
And I feel like we'd be remiss to not mention, listen, Marcus Smart is so important to this team. And like I know we're being really positive for such a team that we've been talking so much shit about, but I really feel like
there's still a lot of talent on the team.
Right. And like if you watch, I don't know if you guys saw it, but there's a clip from that Hawks game that we got smoked by where Marcus Smart is shouting coaching on the defensive end to the entire team. Like he's telling Jeff Teague he needs to slide over. He's telling Tristan Thompson he needs to rotate up. So like having him actually on the court, I feel like does make a big difference in this team. And seeing when he comes back healthy, we'll see what this team really has. Like I said, we're gonna know.
Trade him.
I'll tell you why we're more positive, though, is because we came into this season with a set of expectations. Those expectations have been crushed. We've all gone through now the mourning period, denial, anger, I don't know, rage, shame. I don't know what all the other ones are.
Not turning him on, just like
yelling at each other, yelling at ourselves, crying in the shower, whatever process you went through about the Celtics team. And then we came into this show and we're all basically at the end of the grief cycle, and that is acceptance. And
I don't know.
And acceptance.
I mean,
I'm still pissed.
It could be bargaining. We might still be at bargaining. I don't know.
Bargaining.
Right, Joe had to come for me on the air on Tuesday because I mean I damn near had a meltdown. Like I literally like in the middle, we was in the middle of having a point, and I literally was just like, oh god, like they like this team is so bad. He was just like, like, hey, like take a deep breath, it's okay. And I'm
well, it's even worse when
my brain right now.
It's so worse when we're recording during a game too, because then you're watching it happen as you're talking about it. Yeah, so I mean, Ray, just don't turn on the game against Washington that starts in a minute. And we'll be fine.
I can't though. That's the problem. Like,
so
I'm glued to the foolishness.
So just to recap the first hour, we have accepted kind of what's going on with the Celtics. Kind of, as Mike just said, we're pissed. I mean, we have every reason to be, because they're not playing well and the management is refusing to do anything about it. But my point on the first hour is, at some point, while we are all fans and we are trying to figure things out, and we want them to be the best that they can, there may be underlying things that are going on with this team that may be causing them to not do it, whether that's not wanting to spend money when you're not getting ticket revenue, whether it's the health of the team, which we've seen because we have guys that have physical injuries and we have guys that have had illness fatigue after they've recovered from the illness. We've also learned that Dave has a little green man in his head. Contrary to popular belief, it has to do with the Boston Celtics, not the fact that he's Irish. We also learned that Bobby is a klepto from Blockbuster, and that Ray is he's insane about the Celtics.
And then we're all a lot nicer to each other when we're talking about basketball. And if we move on to football, it's going to get mean again.
Let's move on to football then.
All right. Fine,
go ahead, Bobby. Go ahead.
No,
Bobby.
I was just gonna say, to bring it back to Brad Stevens. Listen, that's one guy right now I can never be positive about because I can't stand this rhetoric anymore. I can't. He's actually really annoying me. It's so frustrating to see a team blow a 24-point lead and then not have the coach be pissed after. I can't do it anymore.
He doesn't get angry from Indiana.
Listen,
it'd be really great if we didn't blow this lead, guys.
I just can't deal with
back a little bit on defense.
Yeah,
and,
exactly. Right. Well, I feel like we just weren't getting the shots that we wanted to get. If we got those shots, this game could have been a lot different. And you know what? Listen, you know what? I know Kemba was 2 of 18 tonight, but this guy is part of our plan. Okay, Kemba is.
There's a really good dateline on tonight. I'd really love to get home and watch it.
I can't take it anymore. I can't. And I need someone. If there's a 24-point lead, I need someone that's like, guys, what the fuck are we doing? Are you like? That's what they need. They need someone that's going to take their foot.
We have the. You're absolutely right.
Far up their ass that
we have the PBS coach and we need the Spike TV coach.
That's Bobby. Exactly. We've talked about this though, right? Haven't we heard this from other coaches on other teams in the past? And it's just different when it's in our city, right? We started to hear it. We started to hear it as Patriots fans from Bill Belichick this year. We've heard it in the past as Red Sox fans, mostly from John Henry, who can get lost and just go run Liverpool if he really wants to, even though that's what he hired Billy Beane to do. So screw those guys. Sorry,
that's not even true.
There's just so many things wrong with John Henry.
I know what you're getting. I'm sick of being fed bullshit, man. I'm sick of someone taking
Can I ask you something, though, Bobby?
Pile of shit and shoving it in my mouth. I'm sick of it.
There's places where you have to pay extra for that. But listen, let me ask you something honestly, though. Do you think that in basketball culture, that basketball players, the way the football players are, for example, coaches from the time they're in Pop Warner are screaming at them. You know what I mean? Like from the time you're in Pop Warner playing football, it's like, what? Get up, maggot! Get up and run through those tires! And like that's just how the culture is in football. And it's very like, listen to your coach. Listen to your coach. The coach, it's like your dad, your priest, and your coach, like down in Texas football, whatever. I've been watching a lot of Friday Night Lights, if you can't tell. But in basketball, they're a little softer. The players, it's not. You can't really yell at the players in basketball these days.
It's the AAU culture, man. It's AAU culture.
Very soft.
AAU culture.
Very soft.
Raise like, are my pillow guy.
It's like very very soft. Hey, listen. You missed 100% of the shots that you don't make. So you just have to make sure that you take one day at a time and one game at a time. And it's a joke.
It's made us fluffier.
But
things,
also, if your name's Marcus Smart,
if you go get a coach to yell at Tatum and Brown, the worst case scenario, Tatum and Brown might come out. Tatum more likely. Where if you yell at Jason Tatum, like there's a chance he might just like be a little baby about it and be like, well, I'm just going to go to a different team then.
I feel like Jalen's so different though, where I feel like Jalen wants. I feel like Jalen wants someone in his fucking face. You can hear it when they ask him questions about how bad this team is playing. His reactions are it's so telling that this dude wants someone at the throat of this team because he's like, it's unacceptable, it's bullshit.
They don't play hard enough.
Effort.
You want to know why they're blowing fourth quarter teams? They're not playing hard enough. They're just not playing hard enough.
That's why it's like, if they were playing hard and they were just missing shots and just like missing their assignments on defense, and it actually was fundamental basketball issues, then I'd be like, okay, Brad, you're right. That's fine. But if you're not playing hard, and I want to see that fucking vein popping out of Brad's forehead. You know what I mean? I know, and it's so frustrating, and I'm so done with it. It's been years, and it's the same shit every fucking year. I'm done.
We were also at one point. I'm sorry, Mike. I didn't mean to interrupt you. I'll just make this one point, and I'll shut up. we were at one point on Brad Stevens like one of the best, if not the best, defensive teams in the NBA. Now we're like the 15th best. You know, it's like you were talking about that era with like the Olynyk's and the Avery Bradleys of the world. It's like we can't defend in transition anymore. We could never protect the rim.
I've never seen a Celtics team miss their rotations as much as this team. There's that guy wide open in that corner every fucking time. It looks like a college basketball team. You know what I mean?
But you can also, but the thing is you can also just, and we discovered this in the playoffs last year, is you can just run the zone on us and just put bodies in front of people, and everybody just goes like, "Oh, I don't want to run through bodies in there. Let's just shoot." Like, let's just start shooting because, like, I don't want to, you know what I mean? And it's like, that's soft as shit.
That's what I was going to say real quick, Joe, is that and Bobby, you had me in tears, but I think what's more enraging to me than the rhetoric is the fact that the overall philosophy of this team appears to be, we're just going to shoot our way out of it when we can't. And it's just absolute mismanagement of the team, right? I mean, I think, there are a few bright spots. Yes, I agree. Can we all agree that Naismith is not one? He's not a bright spot of this team. Like he's not.
What happened there?
No. He's playing better lately. Don't do that.
Grant Williams is not the bright spot.
When Brad is finally giving him minutes, now he's actually playing better. So no, he wasn't playing at all. So we was like, what the hell's going on?
But if he was brought in to be such a specific thing, like this grip and rip guy, and if he has that skill set, like why not just put him in those situations? It's like frustrating to not have seen him get those rotation minutes early.
For sure. But I feel like he's become better as a defender. Like he definitely hustles on every play. You see that chase down block he had a couple nights. Like he's invested defensely, which is I think.
I want to see more of him though. That's what I'm talking about with Brad.
I agree. That's on Brad. Yeah, that's not on Naismith yet. Granted, I want him to start knocking down some shots, but once again, that doesn't always translate right away. And I think
obviously
we all definitely bought into that. Like, honestly, I get it.
To defend him. When you have a guy in college who's really good at coming off screens specifically and shooting, that does always take time to adjust to in the NBA because the screens you're coming off, they hurt more.
It's so much faster.
The bodies are bigger and everybody gets there faster and they get to their spots faster. So he's going to just learn to come around those corners a little bit tighter. And I think that shot will be there. But yeah, I mean, but that's what I mean. Like, what happened there? Like, why isn't he getting his minutes to learn that? You know what I mean? It's like, go do that.
In that New Orleans game, guys, we were all talking during that game. You knew they were fucking blowing that game. Going into the fourth, every single one of us knew that game was getting blown. Yeah. It was happening. And the fact that Brad didn't look at what was on the court and be like, listen, we got to change everything. If I was Brad 2 minutes into that fourth quarter, I call a timeout. And I do a 5-for-5, man. I'm taking everyone off, and I'm putting a whole new group on because you guys need to lose by 30. You need to change the fucking energy, regardless, though. But we still fucking lost, so you might as well send a fucking message. How many times do you see that where you just take all of them off?
You're like, listen, guys, to change what we're doing. We get stuck in these weird patterns of, like Mike said, shooting all the time.
Hero ball,
we're talking about hero ball. Sure, that's a thing that we do. Getting killed in the zone, that's still a thing that we do. We didn't learn that lesson from the playoffs.
Taking turns. They love
that taking turns bullshit. Not playing as a team, not moving the basketball. Brad can't seem to get them to lock back into a different thing when they get stuck in those moments. And we talked about this on a show I was on a couple weeks ago. Do they listen to him? When he says stuff at this point, and I'm really worried about that because if they're not listening to him, we got a problem.
So it only took us 61 minutes to slander Brad Stevens and the way he approaches press conferences. Bobby, it's a good thing we didn't. It's a good thing we didn't kill the NBA segment because we would not have gotten that wonderful nugget from Bobby that had Mike and I falling out of our chairs, quite literally. But now that we're 60 minutes, 70 minutes into the show. That's where everybody got a little more fired up about the Celtics. It just took us a little while to get wound up. So, Dave, I am going to get us a little more wound up as we switch to the NFL offseason because the last time we all were together,
light the fucking fire
before the show. Last time we were here, it was the week before the Super Bowl, and then we all know what happened there. We recapped the season. We went over that, and Craig is telling me that I have to say it. that if you are listening to this podcast, please see the show notes down below. You can see our beautiful faces on Twitch, YouTube, and Facebook. Those of you that are watching us live, thank you for watching us live on Twitch, YouTube, and Facebook. My mom texted me, guys, said that we all look great, and she loved seeing us and listening. She had no idea what we were talking about, but that's okay. We won't hold that against her.
Lots of mama shout outs. I'll give one to Papa Kelly. Shout out Papa Kelly, doing good. Resting, listening to us right now. Yeah,
awesome.
We like when he listens. He's got to get on here, and he gives us some gems in the comments too. Hey, Craig, I need you to come on here for a second if you could. Craig, have you started your St. Patrick's Day shopping yet?
I can't say I have.
You can't. Wow. Well, you should go check.
What's St. Patrick's Day shopping?
From I was going to go daylight savings time.
A little whiskey. A little whiskey.
All right, listen, I'll just cut to the chase. You go Boxo Crafts. They have holiday boxes and kids craft boxes at boxercrafts.com. When you go to check out a Boxo
Mike
Crafts,
quit the show right there.
use
MTP. Fuck this shit. I'm out of here.
Use MTP at checkout for 15% off your first box. So, guys, let's get into the NFL. The NFL offseason. Mike's back. I think Mike's got the giggles tonight. Mike's having
like St. Patty's Day shopping. You just can't that's not a thing. You just can't make it a thing.
What's the next shopping holiday? We've passed Valentine's.
I just love how we have Easter.
420.
I love the recurring theme of like trying to do the Boxo Crafts read live, and it's always the same bit between Craig and Joe, where it's like, "Have you started your blank shopping yet?" And for some reason, it never works.
Yeah, you still haven't gotten it right.
And he decided, no,
it's been 9 months. Be the one. Let's keep interrupting. All right.
St. Patrick's Day shopping.
Craig, have you started your Arbor Day shopping yet?
Oh my god!
We all know how much trouble you have with Arbor Day shopping.
Good God. How about Flag Day? So anyway, all right, guys, let's get into the NFL. Let's get fired up because we had some interesting exchanges in our Discord over the last couple of weeks. One of which Dave was at the center of when one of us said it looks like the Patriots are going to have Cam Newton as their quarterback this year, and Dave pretty much like wrote our obituaries and was like, "Bummer, guys, really feel for you." So it does sound more and more week by week, sometimes day by day, like Cam Newton is coming back as the Patriots quarterback. He said that with a full offseason to prepare, alluding to a team revamp, added weapons and talent, that he's optimistic about 2021. We all know that in the 2020 season, Bill Belichick vehemently defended Cam Newton, unlike he has defended any player that has ever played for the Patriots, including 6-time Super Bowl winning quarterback with the New England Patriots. Now, 7-time Super Bowl winning quarterback Tom Brady, who he never defended the way he defended Cam Newton. I think that can go back to some of the COVID stuff. However, Cam Newton is quoted as saying on the I Am Athlete podcast with Brandon Marshall, Chad Johnson, Fred Taylor, and Channing Crowder. I think that's one we should try to get an interview with. I think Bill Belichick is the most understood person in all of sports. He's dope as shit, Newton said. He also was quoted as saying,
sounds cooler when you say it, Joe.
Thanks. There's not 32 guys better than me in the NFL. Mike and Ray, how do we feel about Cam Newton being the quarterback of the New England Patriots in 2021?
Okay, you want to talk about cowards?
Well, hold on.
I know why you went to those two fuckers first.
Yeah, I'm aware.
All right, so this is going to be
Patriots fans.
A really interesting take. But if they still do the things that they need to do in the offseason and build through the draft, like draft a quarterback, and they go after some free agents for wide receivers and offensive targets, I think Cam will be better than he was this past season, right? He's not my first choice, but he can't be your only option. And we know that Stidham is not an option anymore. And I'm over Hoyer. So like if you can draft, listen, Trask, somebody at the quarterback position, then go ahead. Bring Cam back. Make it a competition, because last year there wasn't one. Cam really was never concerned of Jarrett Stidham taking his job, ever. Was not going to happen. So
Bill made that very clear.
Which says a lot about Jarrett Stidham.
Right. So
it says a lot about Jarrett Stidham.
Build through the draft, like get a quarterback, maybe get a tight end, but and then I don't ever want Belichick to draft a wide receiver ever again in the draft. Pay those guys, and then we'll see what happens.
So can you ask me the question one more time, Mr. Malkin?
What was the question? Are you ready for Cam Newton to be?
No, you said how do I feel though?
How all right. Do you want me to ask it like Matthew Slater does in the locker room?
I knew you were going to do that.
Ask it.
Ray, how do you feel about Cam Newton being the quarterback of the Patriots in 2021?
Oh, hell no. I don't want him to come back. You know that dance that he does when he gets into the end zone, when he does the Superman. So you see that's how far we are from winning in 2021. We're pulling away to the point his arms is out this long, right?
Randy used to do that too.
Yeah, but we ended up being separated at the end too, unfortunately, that year. But so maybe guys should stop doing this in New England. Don't do this. Maybe we should be doing more of this. But it's amazing to me.
Praying for a better quarterback.
Yeah, exactly. exactly. No, but it's amazing how he's a great talker, right? So he gets on the show and you're like, yeah, like okay, like yeah. He's talking to Fred Taylor, he's talking to Brendan Marshall. He's like, yeah, man, these guys
also good talkers.
Yeah, also great talkers, right? So it's like, oh, not anybody better than me. And I'm like, Chad knows better than anybody else. He should have said, hey, big fella, I had my year down there, and I wasn't that damn good. Guess what? I thought I was the worst Patriot signing coming over here. You've replaced me. That's what he should have been saying to him on the show. That's what he should have said. But they're boys, so he was going to protect them. I get that.
He's not. There's not 32 guys better than. There's probably about 28, 29 guys better than. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like
exactly.
And also to support that point earlier, Joe, like you said, Bill Belichick came out vehemently defended Cam Newton like he's defended nobody else. He loved Chad Johnson too. They were totally cozy, like he just loved that guy. He loved his personality, like he was about him.
Certain players he
just warms up to. But I absolutely agree with you, Ray, because Cam Newton, one season ago, last off season, there was a lot of rhetoric coming out. They all doubted me. That was the whole thing. They all doubted me. Watch me, and then it was like, here's my workout videos, here's my shit. I'm gonna come in, and then what season we have? It's like, dude, you can say that all you want. Like, you're just not good anymore. And like, also, what he should be saying is, I don't know, man. I'm not throwing at anybody. Give me a break. Right, but everybody sucks on this team.
That's the thing with Cam. It's his shoulder, and that's always since that year in Carolina. You've seen the throws, and last year, guys, I haven't seen a quarterback make that many bad throws consistently since I've been watching football. Like since Chad Hutchinson. I guess
you missed Rex Grossman on the Bears then.
Huh? Well, all right, fine. Rex Grossman, exactly. Like those are the type of throws you see from this dude. And it's like, listen, I don't disagree if you get him low, bargain, and you bring him in here to compete. If he looks like Cam that you saw a couple years ago, awesome. You guys could have something, but you need some. You need something more. You need some promise from that quarterback position.
That's the only way I'd be okay with it. I mean, granted, like I said what I said a few minutes ago, and I definitely meant that for sure. But I just know how it goes when it comes to Bill. Like the things that we think is going to happen, I think we feel he's going to do, he's not going to. So, we think, quarterback's the obvious need. He's going to draft there. He'll mess around and draft, an offensive lineman at 15. Now, I mean, granted, if you're not bringing someone like an Orlando Pace or, like a Steve Hutchinson and one of those guys, like, I mean, what are we doing? But, I just feel that
correct me if I'm wrong, though, on that note. Like, is it not, and you guys obviously know more about the Patriots draft habits than I do, but is it not Bill Belichick's strategy to just draft the best available player every single time? It does, he doesn't draft positionally, right?
He doesn't do that all the time.
He drafts low. He drafts to get. It's kind of, and I meant to bring this up when we were still talking
he wants value guys.
He tries to get the value guys, which is what I think Brad tries to do with the Celtics, is get those value guys. He wants the value. I mean, look at where he drafted Tom. Look at where he drafted Jimmy. Look at the guys that have been successful, and he's getting.
Yeah, but like there's a reason why
Bill would rather have 2 B- than an A-.
Right.
Yeah, but that's dumb.
But at quarterback,
sorry.
you
It is dumb.
can't do
It's
that.
stupid.
I'm sorry,
Right.
that's dumb. I'm
It's
sorry.
very
You can, and you can do that when you have Tom
That's what he
Brady.
does. That's what
You
he
can do
does.
that
He
when you have
loves
Tom
Yeah.
Brady. You can do that
He
all you
loves
want when you have
second,
Tom
third
Brady.
round. Agreed.
Hold on.
Yeah, agreed.
Wait, everybody, pause, calm down. Dave, say that one more time. You said that. Well, Dave mentioned that you can do that when you have Tom Brady, and that's what it is. When you have the guy that erases all the other mistakes that you had at linebacker, mistakes that you had at corner, mistakes that you had at wide receiver. You don't have that currently, so you have to make sure that you draft appropriately. So if I mean, granted, I'm not super high on Mac Jones, but it's like if Mac Jones is that guy at 15, if it's Trask, if it's Lance, personally, I would like them to trade up to 8 and 9 with Carolina or Detroit to get Trey Lance. I think Trey Lance is a beast. I've been on the
that.
Yeah, I've been on the bench.
He's probably going to go top 5.
Yeah, possibly. So I'm like, I think he's a problem.
A couple points on this. When we talk about Cam Newton, there was reports early on at the end of the season about him possibly getting $25 million from Washington to go play for Ron Rivera in Washington because the Carolina ownership clearly wanted Rivera and Newton out. They wanted to start over, and they did with Matt Rule and with Teddy Bridgewater, which was okay this year. But that was the report. So now if Cam Newton comes back and Aaron must listen to the show because he must know that he really got me excited with his comment of Newton should go back to New England. The Patriots just need a better offensive coordinator that suits Cam.
Yeah, he does. He does.
Yes, yeah. because we've talked about this in the past that this is a cyclical thing where the best coaching staff in New England Patriots history was when Bill Belichick, Romeo Crennel, and Charlie Weiss were the head coach and coordinators. Josh McDaniels is a fraud, and I will say it straight out now that the season is over. Josh McDaniels is a fraud and clearly was not running that offense because also Tom Brady was running that offense in Tampa. I think Byron Leftwich might be a better offensive coordinator than Josh McDaniels.
I agree.
And then Mrs. Marcangelo says that do we think that the players that opted out last year will make a difference? Yes, but I don't think all of them will be there.
Good point, though. You guys had a lot of opt-outs.
Most in the league. Most of that defense, too. That was that front seven of that defense got annihilated with Hightower.
1 second, Mike. Why did you shake your head at me when I said that about McDaniels? I want to hear why you were shaking your head.
Okay, so you're calling Josh McDaniels a fraud based on the fact that he brought in a quarterback that had not been what we thought he was going to be in a couple of years, had an injury, had no OTAs, had no preseason, had nobody to throw to.
I've always thought McDaniels was a fraud. This just cemented it.
And he still won 7 games. And Byron Leftwich being a better offensive coordinator because Tom Brady went to a situation where he had Mike Evans, Rob Gronkowski, Chris Godwin, Scotty Miller, and then he brought in Antonio Brown. He's going to get – I really like the fact that Leftwich will get paid as a head coach sooner or later because he has a ring. But, you could have gone as the offensive coordinator of that team. And coach
no,
that's
not
true. So much talent.
No, that's not true. Yes. Leftwich had
the last 6 games of that season. He was calling genius games, man. He
really was.
Great
I
games.
agree.
He wasn't.
In that playoffs against the Packers, he called a great.
Don't listen to me. Arian said that he let Brady go out there and coach. So, the head coach said that Brady was
that's him. He's pandering. Stop it. He's pandering to the pundits because he wants to be saying, "Oh, well, look at me. I won the way that building." That's all that is. He's pandering, bro. Don't buy into that.
I do agree with you though, Mike. I do agree with you that you can't call McDaniels a fraud before you give him a chance with a fully healthy team with guys that aren't opted out with people in Gillette Stadium. You know what I mean? It's like you got to let them. Your guys are rebuilding, no? I mean,
can I bring someone up?
Well, real quick.
Okay,
real quick. Go ahead. Was Leftwich? He was the OC last year when they were 7-9, right? Mm-hmm. I think he proved how legitimate of an OC he was last year, winning 7 games with Jameis Winston throwing 30 interceptions. Right?
So you think that 7-9 was more impressive than the Patriots 7-9
for Leftwich? Yes. Yeah.
But wait, that's the opposite of what you just said because you said anybody could do that with those weapons.
Well, no. Brady went in there. Gronk went in there.
Last season.
Antonio Brown went in there this year. Those are the differences.
They still had a lot of weapons.
You still had Evans, Godwin, and Howard. It's not like they had some scrub on their team. They had guys that he wanted to play with, which is why he came down there.
They had Jameis.
Well, now that this has turned into the New England Tampa Bay Buccaneers show, let's get back to if not Cam Newton, then who?
Marcus Mariota, I think, is a good one for you guys. I think that's a guy. Listen, I feel if you're gonna talk about Cam, you got to talk about Marcus Mariota because he's
rubbing it in at this point.
No, but like I'm just saying, like if your mindset is you need to bring in a vet and have someone with upside, then to me, I would rather Marcus Mariota be that guy than Cam Newton. There's no doubt in my mind about that. I do you really think that Cam Newton could ever put up a game like Marcus Mariota did at the end of last season? Actually have almost 300 yards passing?
Did he do it against Seattle?
That's early. That's early Cam. I'm talking later in the season Cam.
Later in the season Cam was post-COVID Cam. So hang on. So these are the factors we have to put in.
So you would rather Cam Newton over Marcus Mariota?
Yes, 100%.
No. I think you take anybody over Cam Newton at this point, and I think that Marcus Mariota is definitely a good choice. I just think you bring in Marcus Mariota and you're changing your whole offense, right? Like you're doing a whole different thing
again.
I think
again. Because that's what they had to do with Cam, right? And that's what Mike was just talking about, was changing the offense on the fly to suit that guy. But let's also not wait until June 28th to bring in our quarterback this year. Okay. If we're not going to go with Cam Newton.
Bobby makes a good point, though. At least like Marcus Mariota can throw a touchdown pass. You know what I mean?
I'm not saying you're not
can hit a guy on a 25-yard out. Cam Newton can't throw the ball fucking 25 yards.
Yeah, but Marcus Mariota, when he was the guy in Tennessee, could not be counted on. He's not the guy in Las Vegas, and that's why he could be counted on in that situation. That Derek Carr is another guy that's been talked about being on the trade block too. So I mean, Mariota, but the trade talks of Mariota have cooled. I think it would take a lot less to get Mariota than it would a lot of other pieces. But I think if you're going to bring in Mariota, you're going to let Cam walk. You're going to trade for the veteran in Mariota, knowing that you have a solid backup, because that's what Marcus Mariota is at this point in his career. And then you're going to draft that Mac Jones at 15, who, Ray, I don't know. I'll just point it to Ray because Ray said Mac Jones first, but all of you, I can't remember who it was, but he was compared to Tom Brady this week.
That's common. Yeah, that's common.
It's his movement in the pocket that people say reminds him of Brady.
He's definitely accurate, but it's like, listen, like we don't need to have another Tom Brady. We just need someone that can actually play the damn position, right? Like that's just what you need. Well, yeah. Right?
Other quarterbacks other than Tom Brady have won Super Bowls. So
I know, but I'm saying we think about it. I'm not talking about the team, right? Exactly. Nice one. Nice, Bobby.
In the 90s when Troy Aikman won 3.
Hall of Famer.
As the 8th best player on that team. I had to get one in, Bobby.
Not anymore. I think we
love it. I love it.
So Bobby gets so mad. Anymore. Bobby gets so mad at me when I bring it. All right, let's get off that.
But but Mac Jones he's definitely accurate. Bobby said he moves in the pocket. I get that, but to me, who knows? Maybe I feel like he could be there in the second round. I don't think he'll be there. Maybe you could go somewhere else at 15 as opposed to getting him at 15. Like I think he'll be there. Honestly, I really do. I think I can't even talk.
His stock is climbing because if you saw the wide receiver Devontae Smith. They asked him, "Who do you like better, Tua or Mac Jones?" And Devontae Smith said, without a doubt, emphatically, Mac Jones. So
he
there's
just won
no.
With them. Of course, he's going to say that.
But he also played a year with Tua and won with Tua. So it's not. It was a comparison they asked him about, and honestly, I really feel like Mac Jones. There's going to be 4, maybe 5 quarterbacks taken in the top 15 of this draft. It's going to be Lance, Fields, obviously Lawrence, and Jones. They're all going in the top 15.
And how many of those quarterbacks will actually have long, sustainable careers? So another part of this cycle that we talk about with the Patriots, before we move on to the rest of the NFL, is that they need the weapons, right? So they don't have any weapons. And everybody keeps saying it. Well, they bring in a quarterback. Who's going to want to come here to play quarterback? They have nobody to throw to. And then it's, well, who wants to come in here and play receiver because he has nobody to throw to him. Well, great. So we have a lot of problems to fix, and there's a lot of money to fix those problems. Currently, the NFL is in the franchise tag period, which is February 23rd to March 9th. And then as of March 17th, St. Patrick's Day, hope Craig gets his shopping done. That's when they can start signing free agents. And then I would like to have A.J. McCarron, Aaron. I actually think A.J. McCarron is an okay backup in the NFL, and I wouldn't mind having him there as a kind of a backup. But anyway, but when we look at this team and we try to figure out who they're going to bring in, who they're going to draft, which the draft is in April, Hunter Henry, former tight end of the former tight end, because yes, he's an unrestricted free agent, but they could tag him if they want. But it sounds like he wants to go to free agency. He was quoted as saying he wants to go somewhere where there's somebody that can throw to him. Is essentially what he said, which is really interesting to me that he wouldn't want to stay in LA because Justin Herbert can throw the football. So I don't know if he's looking to go somewhere else to get paid, or he doesn't enjoy it out there in LA. I don't know what you wouldn't enjoy about 70-degree weather in the middle of February. Right, Dave? You could? All right. So
once people start getting murdered outside my house, that'd be great.
The last one wasn't murdered. He's doing well.
That's right. To the listeners at home, I totally ear witnessed the Lady Gaga dog abduction. It happened like right outside my house, so I'm like basically famous now. I don't know if you guys know.
We should have plugged the show with that this week.
Yeah,
Shia LaBeouf, Eagle Eye out the window.
Tune in later to hear DK Sizzle tell his Lady Gaga dog abduction story.
I still want to know what app that was that you had, because that was pretty fancy. Citizen.
Yeah,
you don't need it in Milford, bro. That thing would never go off. That thing would just be a paperweight app that just when you don't use
like 12 times a day for me.
That app that when you don't use an app and it gets that download symbol next to it.
I had one yesterday.
You don't need this app anymore.
That's it.
So all right. So let me ask a question. Hunter Henry, want him?
Absolutely.
I guess you get him if you can get him for sure.
Absolutely.
I mean, really, Dave, what I'm really upset about is to bring it to the Windy City. Bill Belichick had Cole Kmet sitting right there. Could have had him. Yep. Could have brought him in.
Yeah. And you guys also had Cordarrelle Patterson too, right? Didn't we get him from you?
Yeah.
Patterson.
They're not helping.
I think it's just a matter of where. Cole Kmet. Don't worry about it. Cole Kmet will help. Patterson probably not. Patterson is an extreme role player.
But that's the moral of the story with the Pats, right? They've had so many guys that could have made a big difference on offense sitting there, and they didn't take them. They took N'Keal Harry over DK Metcalf. They took Sony Michel over Nick Chubb. It's time and time again. They get to that decision point, and lately they've taken the wrong guy. You know what I mean? Like, you literally could have had Nick Chubb in your backfield, but instead you had Sony Michel. And Metcalf, honestly, at the time, I liked the pick. I liked Sony Michel, but sheesh.
Metcalf would not have been Metcalf here. We just know it. Like we just
I don't know, man. That dude's a physical specimen. Like that, just that athleticism alone. I think carries. I think he was going to be good no matter what.
I mean, I think he's talented enough for sure, but he would not have been used the same way here. I mean, so like it wouldn't be the same conversation, is what I'm saying. He just can't hit on wide receivers for whatever reason, but he can trade for him. Some of them. I mean, he can sign free agents. Like Welker was a good free agent signing in 2007, right? This offseason for me, there you go, Joe, is reminiscent of after the 2006 season, right? He just saw that his team had nothing, which is interesting because they went to the AFC title game and just blew a 21-point lead to Indianapolis. But he retooled. He brought in Randy Moss, Wes Welker, Dante Stallworth. We need that type of urgency on the offensive front this time. And if he can do it, then like I think Cam Newton or whoever is the starting quarterback. I mean, I think now the basement or the floor is now 9 wins. The division's hard.
Can I ask you guys something? Just because like I've been obviously just only thinking about Russell Wilson for the past few days, which like I let it get into my head.
I feel you, bro. I hear you.
I let it get into my head, and I don't know why I did because he's been flirting with Chicago for the past like 10 years.
Vegas has got us 1-2, man. Cowboys
I know. Yeah. You guys have a lot of more cap space than us, I think. But he's been flirting with Chicago for a long time because I think he's from there or something. And I think that Why are the Patriots not in for him? What's the?
Well, it sounds like to me his current situation, why he's unhappy, right, is that he doesn't have enough of a say in how things are being put together, and he will have less of a say in New England.
Well, how do we know? How do you know that? How do you know that?
Because Bill Belichick is the head coach.
A lot of say. Tom Brady has a lot more. Tom Brady has more say in Tampa than he did in New England, but he did have say in New England, and it sounds like he doesn't have any in Seattle.
Just putting it out there, if by the off chance that Russell Wilson hears this podcast, if you're looking for say, no problem, dude. Like, we'll let you redesign Chicago deep dish pizza. Like, no problem. Come on over to Chicago. You can tear down the Sears Tower if you want. You get to make any decision that you want. If Russell Wilson, like, please, for the love of God. Hey, Jerry Jones doesn't love you like we love you. He's not going to let you make decisions. You want to make decisions? Right. Come on over. Come on over. Matt Nagy will let you be you. It'll be great. We're going to have a great time. You guys can have – Seattle can have, like, a couple of picks. Well, you can have Nick Foles. Do you guys want Nick Foles?
Send you a deep dish pizza.
Most confusing
maybe I guess you can have Akeem Hicks. I guess you can have Akeem Hicks also, and then just come on over, Russell Wilson. It'll be great.
Thanks. So it's fun. So I completely agree with the fact that this is Belichick. Total. It's the way Belichick goes. Is this is the year he makes those moves? You know what I mean? Like, I completely agree with Mike said. I see this offseason as the year where he's gonna bring someone in. There's going to be at least one or two big names that are signing in New England. I can almost guarantee that. If those guys pan out, we'll see. When it comes to Chicago's quarterback situation, the funniest thing I've ever seen is that tweet that I tagged you in, dude. I saw a poll. From I forget what podcast.
That was the most depressing poll I've ever seen.
But it was like, who do you see as the Bears quarterback? It was like Sam Darnold,
like Dave's grandma.
I clicked on it thinking it was going to be like, oh, maybe someone good. It was the most disgusting looking quarterback group I've ever seen in my entire life. It was like,
I know you set me up you gave me the old bait and switch when I clicked that link too. I was like, I'm not pressing this poll. I'm not participating in this crime against humanity. Yeah, it was bad. But listen, I mean, it'll be great to get Russell Wilson because we need to dump a salary. We need to restructure some contracts on defense. You guys have money to spend, though. You know what I mean? And like, I think Bobby's right. I think that you're positioned to make a couple of big name moves. And I think the NFL players and their agents are smarter than to go along with the media narrative that it was Brady all along. Like, as we all got like really excited about when Brady won, like, yeah, cool. That was fun to say. But like, obviously it was both of them. And like, obviously there's still players that want to go play for Bill Belichick and the New England Patriots. It still was like the best dynasty of the last 20 years. So yeah, it's entirely possible that you'll go and get some more players. And I do hope for your sakes, because you guys are a lot more pleasant to be around when this isn't the case, that Cam Newton is not your quarterback for the next. You
guys like me a lot more with the Patriots.
Yeah. You take it out on us. You take it out on us like abusive boyfriends when Cam Newton is your quarterback. So I'd prefer if he wasn't.
Ray and I will be muting the chat from September to January if Cam Newton is the quarterback. So let's dive into this, because Dave's mentioning cap space. We're mentioning free agents and everything else. So I'm going to throw a lot at you here in this next transition, but it is the franchise transition tag between 20 and March 9th. There are a few players who teams are pretty much guaranteed to at least offer the franchise tag to. That doesn't mean they're going to sign it. That's the Dallas Cowboys franchising tag Prescott. The Chicago Bears are reportedly going to franchise Allen Robinson. Tampa Bay is reportedly going to franchise Chris Godwin. The Detroit Lions are reportedly going to tag Kenny Golladay, and then the Packers have Aaron Williams, and the Giants have Leonard Williams. That's just reported. But players that aren't expected to be tagged and become unrestricted free agents are the Patriots are not expected to tag Joe Thuney and David Andrews. I think they both come back to New England anyway. Curtis Samuel in Carolina, Jonnu Smith in Tennessee, Bud Dupree and Hassan Reddick in Pittsburgh and Arizona, respectively. Hunter Henry in Los Angeles, Matthew Judon in Baltimore, and Yannick Ngakoue in Baltimore. I'd sign all of those guys in a heartbeat. And then
that's why they're all getting tagged.
Well, no, that was the list of not getting tagged. To go to Dave's
why not
about
go do it.
Cap space. I know. Well, I think part of
Hunter Henry, like just keep him if you can, right?
Well, he's injury prone. He's pretty injury prone too.
Yeah, and the tag,
really?
the tag's expensive.
Yeah.
The tag's a big cap hit. That's
It's funny because you're absolutely right because I think in my head I think about that franchise tag as when it made more sense when the collective salaries weren't so crazy. And nowadays when you tag players like Joe just read the list off, it's like they're fine with it now, because it's like, oh, that median salary is actually like pretty good, so it's totally fine. And you do take that big cap hit. You're right. So yeah, I guess it makes sense.
I mean, Dak Prescott.
Yeah,
it's gonna be like
Dak made $31.5 million.
Well, I mean, franchise tagging a quarterback, like Jesus Christ, the quarterback salaries are insane. So it's like, except for Cam Newton. Probably because there's 32 guys better than him in the NFL.
That's right.
That's such a funny thing. Like, what are you trying to say, bro? Like, you're not saying like you're one of the better quarterbacks. He's like, there's definitely not 32 better quarterbacks.
I'm not the worst.
Like, I'm not the worst quarterback ever. You're like, all right.
Hey, can I ask a question about free agents? I mean, are the Texans just gonna like hold Deshaun Watson hostage? Is this like how this is playing out, or like do you think the second free agency opens up, they're gonna cave to the pressure? Like, I heard they're not even answering the phone down there.
Yeah, that's what I heard.
So they're not.
Can I chime in on that though?
So, let me throw that out there for the people that don't know what they're watching. Is that Nick Caserio, the new general manager of the Houston Texans, apparently is not answering his phone, and teams are reportedly leaving voicemail trade proposals for Deshaun Watson. Go ahead.
Also, just send a text. Just send a text. It's 2021. Who leaves voicemails anymore? It's just annoying.
Right.
No.
Yeah. Right. No, that's crazy. But it's amazing to me that JJ Watt had the same energy that Deshaun Watson had, and they just said, "Okay, well, cool. You want to get released? Thanks for your service. See you later." But
that's PR, my friend.
Right. Yeah. But right. But I'm saying, Deshaun, and that's great. I don't know if he's been more disrespectful. I guess he has been because he said, I'm not playing." And basically, they just said, "Well, you know what?
Well, it sounds like not answering.
It is what it is."
I think that JJ Watt has a lot of influence down in Texas, and I think that like if he's mad and you keep him around, that's just like not good for you, And I think that's why they were like, you want to go ahead, like because that's just a big voice that you don't have to deal with anymore.
I guess, but I mean, last time I heard, I guess the quarterback's supposed to be the most important position in football. So whatever that guy,
absolutely,
whatever that guy wants. Whatever that guy wants,
they do have some ammunition. They have ammunition against Watson because he just fucking signed that 5-year contract. So it's like, yes, I get it. You're disappointed. You're sad. Whatever. You just signed that contract.
So it's like, you think they're just trying to drive up the trade value?
They might.
Yeah, but you're gonna get the house for him anyways. Like you traded DeAndre Hopkins the year before. You still don't put. Once again, you go. JJ Watt said it best as they as they left the field. I'm sorry, brother. We wasted one of your years. He knows. So my thing is, we don't know what else went on beyond the scenes, and it's just like, to me, listen. At this point, Nick Caserio, whoever's in charge over there, but besides him, just make the deal at this moment. Like, you guys weren't gonna win much with him anyways. At this moment, I get it. Houston's lost all their stars in a matter of a few months. I understand that. But at least you could get something back for Deshaun Watson. You didn't get anything back for JJ Watt. You just let him go. I think you have to for the betterment of the team. There. No, it's a big difference, but it's just like you can't. Okay, this is the problem. Nick Caserio is operating like this is New England, and it's not. Houston is not New England. You cannot operate as if you're the 6-time champion, and people still want to come play for the coach, and there's great ownership. Like people are not clamoring to come to Houston. Once again, as I said on the previous show.
What's he gonna do though? Like, he can't be like, "Yep, I guess he said he wants to get traded. He just signed a massive contract, but he said he wants to get traded."
His job.
He has to try to retain the trade value of like one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL.
Right.
And plus, so he said like, we're not trading him. Yeah, it's like what we were talking about with Danny. It's like we were talking about with Danny earlier.
His job is to make sure that the Texans have the best talent available. Now, granted, obviously Deshaun Watson adds to that, but if he's not looking to be there and his disgruntled behavior is going to, basically, I can't even think of the word, but basically trickle down to other players on the team, or basically mess up the culture that's going on over there with a new coach coming in, that's a problem. it was the same thing with James Harden, right? Steven Silas comes in as a new coach. He's been the assistant coach for years. James Harden's like, yo, get me out of here. I'm out here with little baby. We out here having honey buns. We out here, giving $100,000 away to strippers. Like, they having all the type of fun. But when push came to shove, they said, you know what? He's becoming toxic. I gotta let him go. If Deshaun Watson gets to a point he's getting toxic, there's no one above the team. He has to go. It's not about.
I just don't think he's gonna play for. I don't think he's playing for Houston regardless. I don't think he's going. Right. I don't think he's gonna suit up.
Like, Nick Caserio got to just say, look,
it's not.
Whoever. That's.
I think that is what he's going to do.
Sorry, he's doing
I think
that
is what he's going to do, though. I think that is what he's going to do, but that's not what he's saying to the public. What he's saying to the public is he's like, as far as I'm concerned, he's our quarterback, because like you can't turn around and say like, yeah, I got to get rid of this guy. He's toxic, because then you fuck up his trade value, just like we were saying about Danny.
No. Yeah, you don't say that he's toxic. You just say, okay, we're now listening for offers. They say that in the NFL all the time. Could they get away with that?
But it's not free agency yet. You just got you drive up the price, like you lower the demand or you lower the supply to increase the demand. It's like you make him seem off limits.
Whatever they want. They can get whatever they want for Deshaun Watson. They can get somebody's children. They can get whatever they want for Deshaun Watson. They can get down there.
I would give away Joe's kids for Deshaun Watson to come to the Chicago Bears. Absolutely. I would give away my own, but I don't have any. So
no. What about Kicker Clark?
Yeah, that's my future child, Kicker Clark. I will give away for Deshaun Watson. Absolutely.
If you're Nick Caserio, you have the option now to either allow Deshaun Watson to literally just not play and fine him $50,000 a game, or drastically improve the outlook of your franchise over the next 4 years by getting 3 or 4 first-round picks, right? And I think that's and that's what you need to do, because you don't, as an organization, you don't have any leverage. It feels, if you just look at what's happened at that organization over the last, we'll just call it 24 months.
So brutal.
Like it almost feels like it was sabotage. Like they purposely did these things to limit themselves. But I don't know why you would do that. But
read more like incompetence to me.
Yeah, well, I mean, but it's like you just hate to think that you could be that stupid and be that highly paid and in those positions. But you're probably right. But if I'm
fail forward in this world.
if I'm Caserio, man, I said, listen, it's four firsts. Call. We'll answer right now.
That's is like, not only can they get that many first, but they're going to be able to get an all-pro talent out of this too. Like they could walk away with 3 firsts and Christian McCaffrey. They could walk away with 3 firsts and a Dak Prescott. They could walk away with 3 firsts and like guys that actually are going to be an image of your team. You know what I mean? So like, to me,
but what about that thing you always say about it? You always say it was a year ago. They were up 21 points on the Chiefs. And it's unbelievable. Like, now we're starting over. That sucks.
But like, you don't have a choice. If you're Caserio, think about that start though. That's you're being handed on a platter the next 10 years of your franchise. And you're like, no, we're not going to fucking trade him. Like, get the fuck out. What are you doing?
Bobby, hey, hang on. I got to interject there, because when Nick Caserio took this job in Houston, he knew he could see the dumpster fire as he drove up to the door. Like he knew it was happening. I mean, the McNairs have completely mismanaged their own franchise for the past 2 years. Bad. Jack Easterby is a clown. And then they had Bill O'Brien in there, who screwed everything up even more. And now Nick Caserio and David Culley are supposed to come in there and fix it. And but who's directing Nick Caserio to not take phone calls on Deshaun Watson? Because Nick Caserio doesn't not take phone calls. You know how I know that? Because he spent the last 20 years in New England. That's how I know he doesn't not take phone calls. So if he's not taking phone calls, I want to know why. And I think part of it plays into Dave's theory that they're trying to drive up the demand so that they can get more out of it. But I also think that the Houston Texans are just a shitty organization. And that's part of what plays into this. But if they seriously sit there, but so here's my difference between Deshaun Watson and J.J. Watt. J.J. Watt is I don't want to say he's broken down, but he's rusting. The frame on that truck is starting to rust, and he's in his early 30s.
To be honest with you.
Kind of. But Deshaun Watson is in his early to mid 20s with his entire career ahead of him. So that's another reason why they're going to get rid of an influential guy and just let him go, which that influential guy is reportedly, there's been rumors out there this week that J.J. Watt is going to sign with Buffalo, which would be an absolute nightmare.
Wild. That'd be wild.
I wouldn't be worried about that as a Patriot fan. Like he never caused that much mayhem for us when he played against us. Bill knows how to scheme him out. I'd be more concerned if I was in the NFC North and he went to the Packers, because I think that the Packers are going to sign Watt. And
I'm concerned about everybody all the time. Don't worry about me.
And Henry. I just think that schematically it makes more sense. Buffalo is good right now. Like, you don't know how to scheme that defensive line. J.J. Watt is pretty much a one-trick pony. You know what to do on how to get him out of the game.
But you add him to that defensive line. You have a whole new element. And then
it's like how do you?
Because then you eliminate the entire right side. Because then that's what J.J. Watt does. He's not going to put up all those sack numbers, but he's a guy where if he's on that right side, he eliminates that entire side. Whether it be running the ball, whether it be the pass rush, like. He's wreaking havoc in Buffalo. He would.
Let me ask you something. If you're running any NFL organization right now, and you have like a hot blue chip stock like a Deshaun Watson or if you're a JJ Watt or whatever, you want to see where these chips fall. You know what I mean? Like you don't want. It's not smart. I'm not saying people don't do it, but right now on like what is it, February 28th? It's like we're like 2.5 weeks away from the free agency starting up. Let the free agency start up. If you're the Texans, this is the smart thing to do. So, for example, if you're the Texans or even the Packers, let the free agency start up. Let people start making moves. Let chips start falling. Let these franchise tags hit. Let's see what all happens, and let's see what people really have to offer. Because the packages you're getting offered, or like in theory offered for a Deshaun Watson type, are not the same packages that you may see. After salary restructurings, there's a lot of that kind of stuff that needs to go on. So it's like you said, Ray, it's your job if you're running an organization to put the best talent like around everybody. There's a 0% chance that they don't know that they have to get rid of Deshaun. There's a 0% chance they don't know. It's you'd have to be an idiot to think that you were going to just or just be a spoiled brat. You're like stomping your feet. And ruining your franchise because you don't want to be seen as like weak or something. But like, I just don't see that as being realistic. But I agree. I mean, I think if J.J. Watt goes to the Buffalo Bills, that things like that change the landscape of the NFL. So once that stuff starts to happen, then different teams are all of a sudden trading for Deshaun. Like, you know what I mean?
I'll tell you, if they get to a point though where they end up having to trade Deshaun for pennies on the dollar, it'll be the string of trades.
You can wait too long. You can definitely wait too long.
And if they do that and they end up trading Clowney, Hopkins, and Watson for anything less, and they
releasing
don't
Watt,
5 first-round picks for Watson to make up for that, like it's like the string of moves by this organization gives me no faith that they're actually going to move Watson and do it in a timely manner to the point where they don't get fucked over.
The only thing in that organization
really stupid.
They traded a first round pick for Tunsil.
I know.
And then 3 months later traded Hopkins for a second rounder.
Are you out of here?
Tunsil first rounder. You gave up a first rounder, and then you're like, you know what, Hopkins? Second rounder. And David Johnson.
Bobby, I think
it almost does seem like sabotage. I think you're right. It's like
Bill O'Brien,
when you put it like that.
Bill O'Brien, the GM, is worse than Bill Belichick, the GM. I think
Bill O'Brien, the coach, is not as couldn't put on Bill Belichick's jockstrap. That's where we're at right now.
I wonder if he ever tried when he was in New England. So Nick Caserio is really the only bright spot to me in that Houston organization, because I think that's what he's been brought in to do, is change the landscape and the mindset in Houston when it comes to Houston Texan football. But I can tell you one thing is that as we head into franchise tags, free agency, into the draft in early 2021, it looks like NFL teams will be able to have fans back in the stands in the fall of 2021, which will bring in more money. We're going to see a lot of money fly and a lot of players and picks move before the April draft, and who knows what the summer is going to look like. So, and a lot of those names that could move, we have Garoppolo still, Wilson, Mariota, Watson, Carr, Darnold. We could see Sam Darnold go to the Bears, which gives me a good transition to our resident Bears fan, which is DK Dave Clark. DK Sizzle, it is time for what everyone comes here for. The only reason people stick around this long, the only reason we actually do these live shows is for the State of the Sizzle.
Hey, thanks, buddy. Welcome back to another month, gentlemen. Time never ceases to stop passing. It seems to be the only thing that's absolutely constant and sure in this life of ours. Well, other than Zlatan Ibrahimovic being a complete dildo. Did you guys hear about this Muppet? Stick to sports, he said, about LeBron James. James had a typically polished and classy reply, sure, but it made me think about the kind of insinuations and microaggressions that we see in the world today, and how, as savvy communicators constantly in touch with one another online, we can basically see right through them whenever it happens. Ibra has a perfume range, a Volvo sponsorship, his own vitamin water, and he once inked 15 anonymous names on his body, and explaining them, he said, I had 15 removable tattoos on my body, and they are the names of real people who are suffering from hunger in the world. Zlatan doesn't stick to football. He didn't stick to what he was good at. Why? If you asked him, I think he'd tell you because he's Zlatan. Well, unless Zlatan means white guy in Serbian, I think it may be for another reason. He wants LeBron to stay in his lane because he doesn't like what he's saying, how he's saying it, or both. The news lately has been rife with this kind of bullshit dog whistling from people that clearly think they're being subtle when they couldn't be being more clumsy. The central conceit that they want you to hear is that you should stay in your lane because you're an excellent basketball player, and that doesn't make you an excellent orator or civil rights leader. What they're actually saying is that because we disagree with your opinion on equality, but also we can't say that, we have to attack your platform itself, not what you're saying. So after LeBron James says Black Lives Matter, you're not going to hear Zlatan say, no, they don't. But he will say, who are you to speak on this? If you can't kill the message, kill the man. If you can't shoot the message, shoot the messenger. It's the oldest trick in the resistance to change handbook, and frankly, ludicrous. By definition, Zlatan is doing the same thing, using his platform to express his opinion on something. So, shut up. Regardless, my message is this. If the thing you're the most angry about today won't change your day, but it will make somebody else's better, if you're upset because you spent your life thinking potatoes have penises and Hasbro seems to have ruined that idea for you, well, congratulations. You've never had a real problem. The State of the Sizzle, gents, is bored with dumb fuckery, but happy to be here with you guys. Thanks.
It was very well said and a resounding message that, as always with Dave's State of the Sizzle, it goes deeper than the surface. So there's a lot to take away from that, and we hope that you'll all keep coming back for Dave's State of the Sizzle because
I question the character of anybody that ever signs for Manchester United, but especially Zlatan Ibrahimovic. So I've known he's kind of a dildo this entire time, just for the record.
Isn't Zlatan the guy that headbutted the dude?
No, that was
Zinedine Zidane. It was another
okay.
Z.
All right.
Yeah.
This is another Z. My bad.
Which Zidane is actually pretty awesome. So
he's great.
But anyway, so Dave, thank you for that State of the Sizzle. It was, as always, well said. Craig, that might need to be something we just start clipping and putting up because that was, as they all are, that was an iconic one as well. So,
Thanks,
guys,
bro.
as we wrap up here, getting close to 8:00, as the Celtics have a lead over the Washington Wizards right now, and I can tell all of our eyes have gone that way, and Kemba's playing well, so this is a good thing. Guys, let's go around the room real quick. Mike, do you have any final words for our Sunday Night Sports Wrap this week?
Yeah, I guess my final word would be we did not get to talk about them that much. The Bruins, they've had a great start to the season. I'm here to tell you, as a Boston Bruins fan, just don't trust them, man. It doesn't matter how many games they win in the regular season. It doesn't. Wait until you see the Tuukka and the Pastrnak show up in the playoffs. If Pastrnak can just ignore the noise and be the goal scorer and the offensive threat that we think that he is in the regular season and in the postseason, fine, they have a shot. But I said it last week. I'll say it next week. I don't care if they win 50 games in the regular season. I don't want President's trophies. I want Stanley Cups.
They have been outscored. They were outscored 13-5 in their games on Thursday and Friday, but then they did win 4-1 today on Sunday. So I guess that's a good thing. Bob Kelly, any final words?
Yeah. So I was gonna go Bruins too, but Mike went there, so I'll switch a little bit, and I want to go March Madness. I know we really don't talk about it at all on here. The one team I want everyone to look out for is the Iowa Hawkeyes. That team is going to be real come March Madness tournaments. And if you're looking for a sleeper in your brackets, those are your guys. They're really good. They're a great college basketball team.
Bobby's just out here influencing odds now. The odds makers are scrambling.
Just saying.
Does the best EP in the game have any final words today? No. So he's not.
Greg's on the shitter.
Craig's
pulling the Tom from I Miss You.
That sounded closer to my microphone than his own.
Yeah.
He never talks into his microphone. It's like it's getting worse.
He's actually sitting, and it's actually right here, but he's just sitting away from us.
Craig, you never go full poop, bro. You never go.
No, yeah. Oh man. All right, and last but certainly not least. All right, listen, we're moving on to Ray since you're all done. All right, mute your microphone there. Last but certainly not least, Rayshawn Buchanan, what do you got for me, kid?
Well, to add to Bobby's point, Luka Garza is a problem. Like he's on that team. He's a beast. So I second that notion. But no, I mean I joked about it at the beginning, but I always bring it up. Well, I used to bring it up on shows that we did when we first started. But just make sure that obviously we're ending Black History Month, but just make sure you continue to celebrate Black folks throughout the year and not just when it's convenient. And that Black Lives Matter every day, just not just when it's convenient, for you. So just keep that in mind.
Absolutely, I couldn't echo any of your points. Whether they be, it's so good to have them back. Whether they be sports points or civil points, they're all good ones, guys. We're all on the same page. We always know that. And of course, as we sign out, we get a comment from not Mike. But Mike's mom, that Tuukka will vomit all over himself again in the playoffs. Mrs. Marcangelo, here's the difference. He might actually be there this year. So, guys, thank you for joining us for the Sunday Night Sports Wrap presented by Missing the Point. This was a fun one. Glad we could bring you some Celtics and NFL talk. We appreciate you joining us. If you've listened to us after the fact, again, please come back and watch us and hang out. We really enjoy spending one Sunday night each month with you guys and seeing you come in and talk to us and make comments. So we enjoy spending time together. Sometimes we don't realize it, but we actually do. So thank you again for joining us. For Dave Clark, Rayshawn Buchanan, Mike Marcangelo, Bob Kelly, and Poopin' Craig D'Alessandro, I'm your host, Joe Malkin.
King.
We'll talk to you next time.